again, my name is Kulo Mele, and I'm co-founder of the Raising Awareness Group. And this is my co-host, Stacy. And today we're going to have a beautiful, beautiful event. Once again, just thanking everyone for coming out. So Stacy, you want to come up? Oh, we want to thank brother Kulo Mele for the drums earlier. If y'all missed it, it was a good drumming session from the brother. We thank you very much. So I'm going to hand the mic over to my co-host.
Thank you all for coming out. So to get us started, we are going to have a ceremonial libation by the Temple of Univ. So let's give them a warm welcome.
Temple. That common peace and satisfaction. I'm very happy to be here on this beautiful hot day. What about you guys?
No.
Right, so let me introduce myself. I am Kurhev Heseti Kepper from the Temple of Univ. I'm a Kemetic priest, and I am honored to be here today to be able to open up the way for our ancestors and our forces of nature that walk through us each and every day. I'm going to open up with libation, but I'm going to need everybody's participation. And then I'm going to give you a little bit more information about the Temple of Univ. I need everybody to stand up. I would like everybody to have your heads in Ma'at position. Ma'at is the position of balance. You're going to breathe in and you're going to exhale out. Om. Amen Ra Nasut Netter Atin Ra Nebenak. 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 Anej Artanu give Manetta Tiamat one is root. 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 Anej Artanu Atim Iaku. Anej Artanu give Manetta Tiamat one is root. 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 Anej Artanu Atim Shepsu. Anej Artanu give Manetta Tiamat one is root. 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 Anej Artanu Atim Tapu. Anej Artanu give Manetta Tiamat one is root. 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 Anej Artanu Atim Abatet. Anej Artanu give Manetta Tiamat one is root. 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 Anej Artanu Atim Akaru. We give homage to the Creator who comes as the glorious laws of nature. We are His Father, path for the Most High. We give homage to the Iaku, the light beings that keep everything in order and balance. We are His Father, path for the Most Light. We give homage to the Shepsu, the benevolent ones, the ones whose contributions have benefited us as a race, community, and society. We are His Father, path for the Most High. We give homage to the Tepu, our direct lineage of Kemetic priests and priestesses, and the shamans. We are His Father, path for the Most Light. We give homage to the Abatet, the loved ones who died in the Middle Passage. We are His Father, path for the Most Light. We give homage to the Akaru, our ancestors that recently left this planet into the next. We are His Father, path for the Most Light. Duaneta.
Duaneta.
Aman in Ma'at. Please be seated.
Thank you, thank you. Can we just get a round of applause for the libations? So once again, I want to thank everyone for coming. And right now, we have a special treat to start the event off with. And I just want to let y'all know, Just Words has a new home. A Poet Art Gallery on 4032 West Girard Avenue. And right now, I would like to introduce a good brother that I met some time ago, world-renowned poet, Brother Reynald Williams. Can we get a round of applause for Brother Reynald Williams? We're gonna have some deep, thought-provoking poetry for y'all.
I'm a poet and I've traveled, you know, as a spoken word artist. And often I like to go talk to the young people in the community and use the poetry as like a mentoring workshop to start dealing with creative, critical thinking and to push the culture forward. Try to combat some of the arts and entertainment, the culture that they're getting, mainly the culture that's criminalizing them. So I want them that's contradictory to everything that they actually are, is thinking spiritual beings. And nothing is like, you know, it's not enough to reinforce what they're, or counterbalance what they get. So I do want to do some spoken word, and keep in mind that's exactly what my aim and purpose is, to redirect minds and spirits of young people. Everybody good? Yes. All right. It's, you know, like I said, I come from the spoken word scene and all that, and you know, it ain't a library, so y'all making me nervous with your quiet. You know, feel free to respond and, you know, let me know that we in here together. I don't like holding microphones up. Everybody can hear me?
Yeah.
I'm from around here, but it ain't too often I come back around the way. With memories of old street corner legends that passed away. The last time I came through, I seen these young bucks freestyling the blocks I grew up on. When one of them noticed me in the crowd, he stepped up and said, "Old head, that here ain't what you used to do. Slow down, old man, you don't know me. All respect due, I'm big homie. When you speak to me, pull up your pants, go get you a belt. Before you do that, allow me to reintroduce myself. I'm a lyrical 40 Glock, fresh out the box. You want them small caliber 38s with the serial scratched off. Duct tapes on the hold together the handle. Nervous trigger finger, you wildin' kid. You miss target audience. Hit innocent kids, left our communities in shambles. That's teddy bears and candles. This rest in peace poetry written in graffiti. I'm bossy, Jesus Christ, I'm nice, I predate you like Enoch. I've been in the church pews, I study my lessons through this knowledge, wisdom, understanding, freedom, just and quality, food, clothes, and shelter, love, peace, and happiness, I self, Lord, and Master. 360 degrees, that's how I react, kid. It sound like your soul just got here. I'm about to pass you twice. It's a big difference what we doing here. Is all my life experiences plus the books I've read, making these spoken words Maria Baraka, while you trying to be the next Waka Flocka. I'm a triple OG elder. I wear that with a badge of honor. My thoughts on the luxury line, and you still cruising on the slave ships. Trinali got you trained and whipped. Too many holes in your flows. And I come through with truth. Lies get exposed, and Lord knows you got a ready-made excuse. But I too am a fatherless child from them same ghettos. But my creation was be the abomination of this wicked man's civilization. And you and I are both far from a simulation. Peace, King. One day you be the head of your household. You understand when I tell you that family is everything. As we walk and talk, we find this wall in the middle of the block, sitting in the parking lot. He lights up, try to pass off. I tell him I don't smoke. He said that's real. We put it out, continue to build. I tell him man means mine. Black is unity. Every man should have a code. Mine is God, family, community. Through all the police brutality and black on black crime, I know I feel like my brothers are born to bleed. But I tell him you got to stay in prayer. Plus I gave him books to read. And at 19 he confessed he's having a seed. And rap don't work out, he's back to pushing pills and hustling weed. No, we got options. God gave you free will. Man made the earth, the world been yours since the date of birth. You're blessed. And collective is better than individual success. Don't be scared. I gave Jews to increase his wealth. I told him before, I gave Jews to increase his wealth. Before them project with pyramids, after the plantation on Black Wall Street, the Crow began civil rights. And even though today you can freeze your own cubes, you act like whites got colder ice. God body no equal. Garvey said, up ye mighty people. One love, I'm out, kid. I just had to give you some real rap. This rhythm and poetry from your old head. They call them super predators. They demonized Trayvon for having a hoodie on like he was hiding some devilish horns. Pants sagging in the street to hide the show the tail of the belly, show the tail of the belly of the beast. They carry big heat. Them guns that send you to the hellfire. The devil's the world's greatest thief and liar. Told y'all that the black man rapes and the black man kills. The black man shoots and the black man steals. And Hillary Clinton told them super predators beware of the kids when they come where you live in crime Bill Clinton. Used studies from a professor from the university prison to cause a panic to build more prisons. Some boys need a home for them extra Y chromosomes. And if you believe this myth, it's easy to dismiss kids as at risk. Cup their wrists, flash their mugshot on the news, live at 6. You can keep trying to kill them, but they coming back like Jason in the horror flicks. You scared of Freddy in your dreams, of scared you fear. It's nightmare, but I'm the father, the original man, the cream of the earth. Gave birth to 3 kids, 2 sons. Do they appear to have hunchbacks or eyes in their forehead? Is that why, or is just the complexion of their skin that won't allow you to sit next to them? Cross the street when you see them coming, clutch your purse a little bit tighter. That make you feel whiter? Me feel blacker? You my poser? You my attacker? Where I'm from, them slums, they still waiting for black Jesus to come while they assimilate you into Babylon. They assimilate you into Babylon, they will lock and kill you. Get out before they steal you. My mom would creatively thinking of, I would sink it to the paper with 3 pens. I ink these colorful verses, red, black, and green. I'm Garvey Marcus from 17th and down to 16th and Nars. Lyrically, I'm the wickedest man in North Philly. I'm spoken words, Iron Mike. You listen to the poems, it just might bite. And but the lie, that just mean the pain. That just means the truth hurt, but the lie is much worse. You see what it did to the grill of Emmett Till. But I'm gonna ask you a question. I don't know if the answer will make you feel any better. Who showed up the shores of Africa still in black bodies? Them super predators. I told y'all that quietness makes me nervous. So you know what I mean? If it's real quiet, I'm thinking instead of just doing a poem. That caused me to lose a little of those lines. You know what I mean? So I'm like, yo, I don't know where y'all at.
We with you.
When you're that quiet, I'm like, okay, am I the wrong building?
No, we're trying to listen to every word.
Trying to listen to everything you say.
Just I'm just being honest. Like, okay.
Trying to concentrate.
I ain't on TV. I'm ready for it. Y'all can talk to me. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. I promise y'all. Who showed up on the shores of Africa still in the black bodies of super predators, but the fact is, we lost the culture, the blackness on that ride through the Middle Passage, but kept the warrior spirit, so they labeled us hyperactive. Conspiracy destroyed black boys, perfect attendant, honor roll, but in class they say he can't keep still. Ever consider what you teaching he can't feel? Only offer dissimulation of crime and punishment. Cubicles a jail cell, pray your God to go to hell. And if daddy's not around, can't be found. Mama's losing grip on baby boy now. And I need you to realize, but I hate it when your eyes cry, but mom, I just need to be free in a home where Satan put on street corners crack cocaine. My soul is black gold, so picture me tucking my chain, compromising my stroll. My fitted caps they cop on and off the block. Disrespecting the lessons of the poor righteous teacher, it's like stepping on my sneakers. The hoodie is black, but the brain is where the gun is capped back and stereotypes get blown. Picture me sharecropping my poems, but I wrote this on the souls of black folks, so the lyrics or spirituals. Simon in love, this is what dreams are made of. I'm not asking for miracles, I'm the answer to my own prayers. On leg, head, on head, I'm God body. I self-destruct my own image, so even if I'm standing in project hallways, I see my face carved in the mountains of gimmick. I speak truth to power. My hyper masculinity make white boys cower. Protect women and kids. I'm a raised glove fist of the 68 Olympics. I'm Emmett Till alive and run inside the rhymes of poetry. I'm any means necessary a freedom writer. Hands off a cider. I'm after the open mic venue where the poets and the seeds combine to commit black on black rhyme. Where the cultural thieves get yellow tape and chalk line, we dead to white lies. History got too much bleach in the wash. Alexander the Great threw Clorox in the spin cycle. Brown skin prophet's complexion faded out of the Bible. Did Jesus like Michael? The original man kept the best parts of the planet for themselves. But imperialistic devils gentrified our homes. But these poems are black owned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get another round of applause? Show them some love. And I believe the good brother has some CDs for sale. If anybody is interested in his poetry, get with him and you can get some of his poetry. Trust me, I got some of it, and I listen to it all the time. All right. So right now, I just want to introduce the Raising Awareness Group elders. Some is in attendance right now. Some couldn't be here today. So right now I would like to introduce Elder Mku MZ. Can we get a round of applause for Mku MZ? He's a big part of the event today and why it's happening today. Also in attendance, we have Elder Olatunji Mwamba. Can you stand up? Can we get a round of applause for Olatunji? All right. And also one of our elders, and he's lecturing today, Dr. Tdka, Kilimanjaro, in the back with the black one. Give him a round of applause. Thank you. And also our elder, Sabamya Juagu. I believe he should be on his way. He should be here soon. Also, Elder Yara and Neb. He couldn't be here today, so can we get a round of applause for Yara? Okay. Another elder of ours, our Queen Elder, Sister Nikki Thomas. She's been having some health issues, so she couldn't be here today. Can we get a round of applause for Nikki? All right. We got some group members in attendance today. Can we get a round of applause for my co-host, Stacy? All right. And my good brother in the back, Kevin Williams. Another good brother, Akil. And brother couldn't be here today, our brother, Black Panther, aka Benjamin Njai, also representing Amarad Squad. Can we get a round of applause? Brother Benjamin couldn't be here today. All right. And our good brother from Ohio, Fred Barrett, he couldn't be here today either. So can we get a round of applause? Once again, my name is Kuku Aku Metu Hotep, and I'm co-founder of the Raising Awareness Group with Elder Mku MZ. And we started out around 2014, and one of the things that we strive to do is raising the consciousness of the local communities and just people all around. And you know, one of our initiatives is just, you know, raising awareness through educational activism. And that's been our motto ever since we started, and that's what we'll continue to do. With the strength of the people and our ancestors. And once again, I just want to thank you all. Okay, so at this time, I want to bring up to the stage Elder Olatunji Mwamba, and he's going to have a few words.
My name is Olatunji Mwamba. I'm one of the elders of the Raising Awareness Group. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming out to support our event today. It's wonderful to see some of the faces I talk to on Facebook all the time, to see them in person. And so I'm glad that we're all here in attendance and we can talk and dialogue after the event is over, etc., exchange numbers and, you know, all the other good stuff. Anyway, I am called to introduce our first lecturer. He is a brother I've known for about 8 or 9 years, going back to at least, I'd say, 2000, somewhere between 2008, 2009. Very good brother, deep, conscious, studious, knows his craft well, studies our language, is a linguist. He and I have bounced off ideas for, you know, since we met. He calls me often. He respects elders, and yet, you know, he still pushes the needle forward as we need our young folks to do. We need them to push the needle forward, learning all that has already gone before us and stand on our shoulders and expand on it. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Brother Sonjedi Ra.
Y'all hear me in the back? All right, so I'm not going to use the microphone. Is anyone in here older than 36? I have your permission to speak.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, do I. I'm really happy to be here today and, to share with you and to learn from you. Even though I'm speaking, but it is I who's learning from you. It's your feedback, it's your energy that I've gotten throughout the years that has brought me to where I am. So I'm here to give back to you. So, ancient Kemet, modern African healing and holistic health. So this is about going back to the ways of our ancestors and looking at ways that were effective. Because, everything's not effective. Some things you have to throw away. But what is it that made us great? And how can we use that now? See? And we have to go into those ways to heal. Because we've been through and still continue to go through the Ma'afa, the great disaster that has been going on since the Hyksos in the BC times. Many people say, well, it's been going on since the 15th century with the coming of the Portuguese, Europeans. Others will say it came about the time of the 8th, 7th century with the coming of Islam and the Arabs into Africa. I would agree with that part, yes. But however, we've been under siege from Western Asia and other parts of the world since the 15th dynasty of ancient Kemet. So we have a lot of healing to do. And the only people that are responsible for our healing is us. So you may learn from your own parents, when you're growing up, they'll say, you are responsible for you. In fact, my mother told me when I was in school, she says, you're responsible for you. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. You need to do the right thing for you.
That's right.
As simple as that is, that has carried me. So, now, I like to pay homage to this great ancestor, Sheikh Anta Diop. He is from Senegal, and he was what you might call a polymath, a multi-genius, a modern-day Imhotep.
Yes.
Okay. See, some will say, yeah, Einstein. No. We go back to the African-centered perspective. For us, it's Imhotep.
That's right.
See? He was a physicist, mathematician, Egyptologist, linguist. He was all these things. And he implored us to create teams. It is not the job of one man. But he took what he had, science, all these things, and combined them together. And the thing that I really love is that in 1974, in the Cairo Symposium, Sheikh Anta Diop and Theophilo Benga, the only two Africans, went up against the world's top Egyptologists at the time and battled for Kemet and won. But how did they do it? Did they do it through pseudoscience? Did they, do it through making up things? No, they studied rigorously. Years and years of rigor. And that's how they won. It was about restoring the greatness of African people to the mantle in which it belongs, to the throne in which we should be sitting upon. So I admire him for that. In addition to people such as Marcus Garvey. All right, name them. Who are our scholar ancestors? Who are they? Name them.
Amos Wilson. Dr. Clark.
Dr. John Henry Clark. Name them.
Dr. Joseph Benyaki.
All of them.
Drusilla Dungy, Francis.
Yes. Duanetra. Yes. So it is these people who did the rigor, they did the work for us and passed it on to the younger generation. In fact, I was studying Isut Kamusa Barashengo's works years ago. And in 2004, I got it in my mind that, hold on, he lives in Philadelphia. I need to go see him. But at that point, he had become an ancestor. And then it dawned on me, you know what? You need to start making these connections with these elders and people of like mind so that you can learn, grow, and expand. So shaking to jump. Now, I'm going to tell you about this next person who's also been a great influence upon me. Now, this is Barbara Kahinde. Now, in the 1970s, she graduated from high school. She went into the Army right after high school because she was determined to make a better life for herself, not worried about what everybody else around her is doing. So she went into the Army. She studied, became a laboratory technician, and then she went on in the 80s to the level of advanced laboratory technician, all while she had a little boy. She had a son that she had to take care of, and she did it in full excellence. And this little boy, he watched her in school, you know, studying like algebra books. But of course, he didn't know at the time. He just seen, you know, AX, like what is that, you know? And then once she got out of the Army, she went back to school, Temple University here in Philadelphia, for nursing. And she graduated in 1996. And in the midst of all the challenges, she persevered in the face of all adversity. In my opinion, she is a silent intelligentsia because she has the laboratory experience, which is the medical side of the healthcare field, and then the nursing side of the healthcare field. So she has both sides, a balance. A lot of people can't do that because the philosophies are seemingly different. One just treats pathogens, and other treats the whole person. And she was able to combine this knowledge. So she is an intelligentsia. And I'm lucky enough to have this woman as my mother. See? To me, she's a multi-genius, a living Imhotep. Silent, but she's phenomenal. And she told me a story one time. She told me about, you know, some turmoil she was going through, you know, in her life around the time I was born. And she told me just a couple of years ago that because I was here, it gave her the strength to persevere. I had no idea. So at that moment, I didn't tell her yet, but that's when I realized I come from healers, and which made me realize that I'm a healer as well. And I have the best example, the best mother that a son could ever have. So when you honor the sacred feminine, it has to be operative.
That's right.
It can't be lip service.
That's right.
That's right.
You have to really be about that life.
That's right.
See? She is my counselor. She's my mother. She's getting on me if I do something wrong. I don't do much wrong nowadays, but you know, and you know, this is late as yesterday, I counseled with her, and she gave me some advice, and I followed through. So at this point, I would like to ask if she could come to the front. Because, Ma, I know you like flowers. Come on up.
Yes, 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 yes.
I didn't know he was going to do this. He was like, Mom, you got to come. You got to come. I'm like, okay, I'm tired, but I'll come. Thank you.
Because, you know, because I want the whole world to know how much I love you, Mom.
Thank you.
And everything you've done for me and David. And everything that I am today, you are my best example.
Thank you.
Love you.
Yes.
Love you too.
All right. And no, I'm not teary-eyed.
You're almost there, though.
Yeah, you know. It was, you know, I was plotting on you, Mom, yesterday. It was something just popped in my head. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do that. All right. So let's keep it moving here. She's a nurse too. All right, so she's that healer. Okay, now, last year at the LOX conference, I attended this event, and Baina Belu, who's a teacher, researcher, a scholar, revolutionary from IAT, she said this. She said, the knowledge of self begins with the knowledge of one's own body. And when she said that, I was like, wow, because she told a story of, you know, when she was, you know, out in the countryside, one of the elders asked her, you know, what color was your urine? He says, well, what do you mean? You know, was it clear? Was it dark? You know, so it was clear. Because that is an indication of your health. When you're aware of the mechanisms of your body, which we will go through in our presentation, see, once you understand those laws, you'll be able to understand the laws outside of you. We're gonna go through it. All right, table of contents. So we're gonna go through method, worldview, cosmology, Sekhmet and the life force. I know the sister's gonna like that one. Ma'at and homeostasis, cleanliness, Hotep offerings. So we're gonna, you know, take care of that Hotep stuff, right? You know, when people are using the word wrong. We're going to go through some medical papyri, the gynecological papyri, and then Sibayit, or the instructions. These are a collection of literary classics for African people. So here's the approach. We have I'm using an Afrocentric perspective. Now, in Afrocentricity, you're simply saying that African people are agents of their own reality. And these are the words of Dr. Asante, who's also here in Philadelphia. That you have the centrality in any conversation in African phenomenon. So you are best qualified to explain, describe, and engage in topics of African culture, history, phenomenon, etc. in all areas of people activity, as Dr. Francis Chris Wilson would say. Now, the African-centered worldview. So you have to have a way to perceive the world around you. So first you start with questions. What do my people say about this? How do my people perceive, you know, these things over here, this concept here? How do we interact with these symbols in our environment? So in the African-centered worldview, there are some common points. So when we go to Marimba Ani, who's another one of my heroes, in her work, Let the Circle Be Unbroken, here's some of the points. The universe is made of complementary pairs. See? And this is necessary in order to exist and operate in a unified system. Now, these pairs are forces or principles of reality are interdependent. Now, what does interdependence mean? It doesn't mean that, oh, I completely depend on you and you do all my work. It means that you can operate independently. I can operate independently. However, we both operate in a greater system. So we work together for the greater good in a unified system, because there's nothing in the universe that's separate from anything else. See? That's right. Female and male fusions. So we are coming from the most ultimate ancestor, which is the creator, the mother-father creator. And because we come from the mother-father creator, we are divine. That's right. See? And even when you go into the Dogon of Mali, and in their cosmology, they speak about the sacred womb, the cosmic placenta, and that all beings come into existence as twin souls. So you are predetermined for cooperation before you come into existence. See? As opposed to you come into existence as an individual or a lone rider, as you have in European ethos. Again, humans are divine. That's because of our origin. You are not born in sin. You are born divine. You are inherently good. As opposed to European ethos, which believes that, you know, you are evil upon being born. Then the question is, well, dang, you know, what did I do? Right? Because again, a sin is predicated upon an action, correct? Correct. So what was the activity upon me coming forth from the womb that will constitute a sin? Exactly. Okay? Now, I think there are 613 of them. Is that about right? In the biblical text? Mm-hmm. So you have to tell me which one of these have been violated. Okay? Another common thing is ancestor communion. Now, some people may say ancestor worship, ancestor veneration. Yes, we do that because the word worship, it actually means to honor. Right. So when someone says you are an idol worshiper because you have a picture of an ancestor on the mantle, well, technically, there's no one in the world that's exempt from ancestor veneration. Everybody does it. Yep. Everyone in the world worships one of or combination of the following: the sun, the moon, stars, seasons. Got children in here. Phallic symbols. You get me? The elements: earth, air, wind, fire. There are no exceptions. None. So, you know, if you have our brothers who practice Islam, they'll say, no, we don't do that. Say, well, why do you have the 5-pointed star and the crescent? Both of those are female symbols. There are no exceptions to the rule. So we communicate with our ancestors. See, it's a communion. You're speaking with them, they're speaking back to you in the ways in which they do. Ma'at is common across the continent. The word Ma'at is across the continent as well. And if you get the works by Asar Imhotep, who's in the back, in his works, he has a whole plethora of terms that are Ma'at, pronounced in various ways, but I highly recommend you read the work. And this is another work that I really love. And I'm going to need to read this, but I'm not going to put it up on the screen. But I think I couldn't have said this any better. The African worldview begins with a holistic conception of the human condition. There is no mind-body effective cognitive dualism. So the human person, the human organism is conceived as a totality made up of a series of interlocking systems. This total person is simultaneously experiencing, sensualizing, sensing, and knowing human being living in a dynamic, vitalistic world where everything is interrelated and endowed with the supreme force of life. There is a sense of aliveness, intensity, and animation in the music, dance, song, language, and lifestyles of Africans. Emotions are not labeled as bad. Therefore, there is no need to repress feelings of compassion, love, joy, or sensuality. The basic human unit is the tribe, not the individual. The tribe operates under a set of rules geared towards collective survival. Cooperation is therefore valued above competition and individualism. The concept of alienation is non-existent in African philosophy since the people are closely interconnected with each other in a way of life that involves concern and responsibility towards others in a framework that values collective survival where people are psychologically interdependent on each other. Active aggression against another person is in reality an act of aggression against oneself. If you've heard of the works of Dr. Joy DeGruy, she's the author of the what's that word, Chief? Post-traumatic slave syndrome. And she speaks about axiology, which is the study of the highest value of any given human society. And she explains eloquently that the highest value for African people is the relationship between man and man, or person and person. Whereas though for the European ethos, the highest value lies between man and the object. And it's their acquisition of the object that is their greatest drive and influence, motivation. So which explains why they're able to objectify other people, dehumanize you. And in Africa, in order to become a human, all right, so right now you're just a Homo sapien. You're just an organism, but you have to earn being a human. And when you are a human, that means you recognize the humanity in others. That is the prerequisite of being a human being. But if you dehumanize, objectify, belittle, or reduce others below the level of a human in your mind, then that disqualifies you from being a human. So people that do that to you are not human because they are not practicing humanity. They have no concept of Ma'at, no concept of Ubuntu, which you find in South Africa. I am because we are. We are, therefore I am. And that expresses the African worldview. Now let's go into cosmology. It's very important for us to look at our creation accounts. You ever wonder why in the biblical text it starts off with creation? Why is that? Because what they're doing is they're setting the precedence for your perception of reality. Let's say it again. The creation account sets the precedence, the foundation for your perception of reality. It sets the train of your world view. Or as Marimba Ani might say, Utaratibu Wakutizama, which is Kiswahili meaning the way of the world. Utaratibu Wakutizama. And it's very important for us to use African languages for our concepts. So I really love this text here. This is the book of knowing the evolutions of Ra and overthrowing Ipet. Who is Ra? Ra is the created deity and symbolized by the sun, the great circle. Why the great circle? I read one time where a man asked a sage, who is God? And he answered, he said, God is he whose circumference is nowhere and whose center is everywhere. That's Ra. And in overthrowing Apep, Apep is the serpent enemy, symbolized as inertia, that which comes to stop the progression forward. So no, the story is not literal. We understand the symbolism behind it because we're all adults. See? Why do I say that? Because some people still believe that a man walked on water, literally. You should not be an adult believing that. That's for children. The work says this. The words of Nebuchadnezzar, stop, Nebuchadnezzar or Nebuchadnezzar, Neb meaning master, possessor. Christians will translate that as Lord. I try to get away from that. It means possessor because the sign, the hieroglyph for it is a container, a calabash. And what is a container? How does it possess? It possesses that which is inside of it because it encompasses it. Towards, of. Jer, meaning all or uppermost limit. So Nebuchadnezzar, the possessor, the owner of the uppermost limit. This is the all. Nebuchadnezzar, this is one of the great African titles for the creator. It's that circumference that encompasses everything else. Continuing, which he spoke after he came into being. So this is the creator explaining symbolically, this is how he or she or it created all other things. And she speaks. I came into being as the existent. Kepera. First to come into being, Kepera. Having come into being as what exists, Kepera. I then was. That is how existence came into being, for I was before the ancient Neteru. You may say gods, but we try to get away from that. Right? Neteru, my creation. Before they were, I was. So this is the initial spark that set all other things into motion, because that's what a God would be, right? It is something that controls something else, something that sets another thing into motion, into being. So the Creator is telling us that this is how I created the other deities. And then they came from you. And then this account continues on and he explains how he created Shu and Tefnut, thus Geb and Nut, and all the others. But these are principles. Shu, air. Tefnut, moisture. This is how the elements come into being. But you place this into a story format because it makes it easier for how the mind can grasp it. So you tell it to someone who's newly initiated, you tell it to children, and then as they grow and mature, they understand the symbols behind it. This is our way of relaying wisdom. Now, your perception of self is absolutely important. Because again, if you think that you are born in sin, what does that do to your self-esteem? What does that do to a woman who's told that she brought sin into the world? What are you supposed to do with that? What are you supposed to do with, oh, I'm damned, to the abyss unless I go pay, money to a priest of a religion that destroyed my people. So I'm going to have to read this because you got to really get the feel. My hair is Nun. My face is Ra. My eyes are Het Haru. My ears are Repuwat. That's Ampu. My nose is she who presides over her lotus leaf. My lips are Ampu. My molars, which are like teeth, are Sarket. My incisors, like teeth, are Aset. My arms are the ram. Neb of Jeddu, or possessor of the city of Jeddu. My breast is Neat, lady of Sawu. My back is Seth. My phallus is Asar. My muscles are Neb of Karaha. My chest is he who is greatly majestic. My belly is, my belly and my spine are Sekhmet. My buttocks are the Iharu. My thighs and my calves are Nun. My feet are Patah. My fingers are Sahu. My fingers are the living serpents. There is no body part of mine devoid of the Netcher, and Jehuti is the protection of my flesh. So when you perceive that every part of you is divine, how can you defile yourself? When you dwell upon the earth with this type of perception, how great can you be? How great are you? Because when you leave here, if you don't think this way of yourself now, you definitely will when you leave. We on the same page? Yeah. Okay. Now this papyrus here, this is the papyrus of Annie, sheet number 32, chapter 42. Now, why are we specifying numbers? Because if a Catholic priest or a Baptist priest or pastor or reverend knows their Bible very well and can quote it, if an imam can quote the Quran, if any of our Hebrew brothers and sisters can quote the Torah or the Mishnah or any other text, you should be able to quote African literature. So we have to be able to be specific. So remember, chapter 42, the Papyrus of Annie, is where it speaks about how your body, your entire body is divine. Every single part of you. Chapter 42. So we're highlighting the segment. So now let's go into the Neteret. Now you may say goddess, that's fine. Of healing. She's obviously a lion-headed Netzeret of the healing. She also brings diseases. She has destructive powers of the sun. She presides over war and battle. And she slaughtered the evil of mankind. There's a story where mankind was bad-mouthing Ra when he was in his elderhood. So Het Heru, who is in Netzeret, who is symbolized by the cow with the horns and the sun disk, she got really angry. So then she transformed into Sekhmet. And she was sent out to punish mankind for blaspheming against Ra. But she got bloodthirsty and she kept going and going and going and going. So Tahuti came in and got her drunk. And then they were able to transform her back into Het Heru. Because you know Het Heru is loving and kind. See? So she can bring healing, she can bring diseases. Or the disease is perceived as a punishment. It's a destructive experience. But let's look at her name. Why is her name significant? So we could do a little bit of linguistic work here. So mind you, remember she's a healer, bringer of sickness. Now, remember Dr. Ben said, if you have a goddess, you have to have a god. For every god, there's a goddess. So you have Sekhmet, but then you also have Sekhem, which is also a deity. For every name you have in Kemet of a deity, you have the other gender, the complement, which still expresses the African worldview of universal complementarity. So this is a technique that I, picked up years ago from my brother, Osari Imhotep. Schooled me to the game. Okay, so let's take the word Sekhem. Now you've heard of Sekhem, right? Meaning life force. Yeah, we've heard of that before. So words of mankind, early man, had monosyllabic roots, meaning they had one syllable, perhaps maybe one consonant. And then over time, more words are added on to it to become more complex words. But then what we can do is we can do a back trace to learn what the core concepts are. So we're going to skip over a lot of detail, but I think you're going to catch it. So Sekhem comes from, it's an S and then a Kem. So the S is a prefix that was added on to another word. So remember that she's the daughter of Ra, right? Sekhmet. And a lion is symbolic of the sun, which is what? Hot. So you have Kem, but in this case, not Kemet per se, but we're dealing with a slightly different word here, even though they perhaps may have the same root. Kem, to be hot or to burn. Kem, to be hot, to be burned. Kemet, fire, heat. It also means aromatic herbs. That's the healing factor. Kemi, to destroy, to overthrow, attack. What did Sekhmet do? She attacked mankind. She's also over warfare. Kemit, goddess, and watch this, Kemit is also in Netzeret, a goddess in and of herself. Goddess of destruction. That also becomes Sekhmet. We all on the same page?
Yes, sir.
So this is a symbol of Sekhem, and this is your personal power. So when we deal with the personal power and the life force, again, everyone has it. So how do we relate that to what's going on right now in our lives? So Sekhem, again, is power, life force. We're dealing with heat and friction. Now, you have what's called biochemical activity that goes on inside of your body. So when you go to the doctor, what are they checking for? They're checking for the quality of your life force. They just don't say that. They call it vitals. See? Vital signs. They're checking the vitality of your life force. Now, how does that relate to Sekhmet? Because again, we're dealing with that root word kim, which means heat. So if you don't have heat in your body, you don't have life. See? And this is why Sekhem would mean life force, because you're dealing with the heat in your body. Now, of course, you know, we may question what they call cold-blooded and reptilian and things like that. But they still have a certain amount of heat. Or they have to survive in heat. Like lizards have to go out into the sun and still get heat. Exactly. Right? Exactly. So all things require some type of activity. So when you go to your vitals, you're checking what your blood pressure, your pulse, respiratory rate, temperature, which is 98.6 on average, you know, give or take a degree. Now, think about this. If you're too hot, you get a fever, right? Because you're falling out of balance. You know, there's something that's out of balance, and your body is trying to fight off, let's say, a virus or an invading pathogen, like a bacteria, right? But then if your body falls below the average temperature, you can go through what's called hypothermia, right? Which means below the temperature. So now think about this. When you consume alcohol and it's cold outside, when you go out there, you be like, hey, you know, I'm warm, I'm good. We've done it before, right? Actually, you're not. Because the effect of alcohol is that your body temperature ends up dropping, especially the core temperature. Now, why is that? And we're going to go back to the heat and friction. Is because alcohol, what it does is it's what's called a vasodilator. And what is a vasodilator? That means that your vessels are expanding, right? So, and it does that mainly in the skin. So when you think about pressure, water pressure, so if it's dilating in the skin, what it does is it creates it pulls upon the fluids at the core. See? Just like when you go to a sink. When you go to a sink and you fill it up with water, you know you got the stopper. When you pull the stopper, what you do, you created a vacuum. The water goes down, correct? So it's the same basic, like a bio law, in a sense, or biomechanic. So your vessels in the skin are opening up, it's pulling the water. Everybody on the same page? Yeah. Okay. So since it's pulling blood to your skin is actually heating up, giving you the illusion that you're warmer where the core temperature has dropped. Now, where does heat and friction come into play? We're going to do a little exercise, right? Because we understand blood flows through the vessels. And when it flows through the vessels, it creates heat. How so? Raise your hands this way. Put your hands together. Do this. What is happening? That's friction, correct? Yes. Now, what I want you to do is bring them out about right here. Do that. You don't feel as much heat, right? Of course, when it comes out here, not really. So, when blood is going against your vessels, it's creating a friction. But then when it dilates, it does this. Right? It's like having a hose, you know, out back. You got water, but then if you have a bigger hose, it kind of leaks out, going the same speed, because you've done what? You decrease the pressure. And that's why when you drink alcohol, why it drops your blood pressure. See, because it dilates. So that's why when you go outside, you think you're warm, but you're actually cold. Did y'all like that exercise? Yeah. Just thought of that yesterday. Okay.
Question. Not to belabor that point, but if it's taking blood to your skin, the blood is coming from the organs, right?
Yes.
So that's in the brain specifically. That's what the drunkenness is.
Yes, and that's why they say, you know, you're being dehydrated. Right. And tell you to drink a lot of water because it's going to your gastrointestinal system back into your organs here. So yes. And that's why when you go to the club, after you drink it, you need to kick back some water to replace it because remember, because the blood is going to the skin. And again, it goes back to that friction. And if you look at the diagram here, on the right side is a normal person's body. But then when their body's temperature is dropping, you have it on the left. So, so hold on, let me go down, make sure I don't miss nothing here. All right, so we understand the myth about the alcohol, so we're on the same page with that one. So again, this brings us to homeostasis and ma'at. So here, we all know that ma'at is balance, order, and law. So the question is, what laws govern the physiology? And what is physiology? That's the workings and the mechanisms of the body, where anatomy is the structure. And we have different systems in our body. Your cardiovascular system, your integumentary system, which is your skin, your gastrointestinal system, your central nervous system. Oops, excuse me. Now, what does this have to do with ma'at and the African worldview? Because all these systems work together. So, for example, you need iron. Everyone needs iron in their body. So you see the food, you consume the iron, or the food containing the iron, and then you ingest it. That's your digestive system, and then it goes into your blood system because you need iron to make your blood molecule or your erythrocyte. And you need the red blood cell to carry oxygen which you obtain from your respiratory system. And this is how our systems work together. Calcium. Here's another law. So, anybody drink soda before? Yeah. All right. So, why is soda dangerous? Because usually it has phosphoric acid in it, an overabundance of it. So when you dump that into your system, what happens is you have chemoreceptors, and your body says, hold on, wait a minute, we need to balance this. So it pulls calcium from your bones and puts it into the blood to reestablish the balance, because your blood is always alkaline, slightly alkaline, about 7.3 to 7.4, always, at all times, and your body will do everything it can to maintain that. In fact, most of your organs are in an alkaline solution, and that is a scientific fact, with the exception of the inner lining of the stomach, which has hydrochloric acid. So that's why drinking a lot of soda can contribute to osteoporosis, because it's pulling calcium from the bones. That's why you got to watch what you eat and what you drink. So now we can understand, the association between our body structure and how these mechanisms are working. I mean, it's truly amazing, even on a cellular level. When you think about it, you would think that somebody designed it, but not intelligent design theory, which is a postulation and posture that says we want to prove the existence of the Christian God, and we want to taunt it as science. See? And when they do that, what they're doing is they are making a conclusion and then trying to collect data afterwards. But when you're a scientist, you study the data first, then you come to a conclusion. You study the ways of the world and the mechanisms, and then you come to a conclusion and you realize that there's something greater than you. So we can say that ma'at can be like biological equilibrium when you apply it to your own body. When you understand those mechanisms, you can understand how you relate to the rest of the universe. So this is the meta nature of the term ma'at. So you can have some interpretations. So you have that sharp, looking instrument there. Okay, is used in agriculture to cut the wheat, to cut plants. You can interpret that as like precision. And then beneath it, you have a pedestal, which is a foundation. I like the geometry of it because you have 360 degrees inside of there, but that's for another lesson. So Ra gives birth to Ma'at. But in some other stories, Ra and Ma'at come into existence together. And then if you read the works of Osar Imhotep, I'm going to keep shouting them out, that Ma'at and Ra is the same deity. That's why they're together. And if you notice, between the Paut Neteru, the family of the Neteru, they're spoken of in terms of family because they all have this interrelatedness. It's all in the stories. You have to read it. So now, we're all familiar with this image. Most people will say that, yeah, this is the 42 laws of Ma'at. Have you heard that before? Just by looking at this image, without studying. Actually, the 42 laws is not on this chapter here. This, this chapter is chapter 30b. Chapter for not letting Annie's heart create opposition against him in the Neter's domain. In other words, you are your own witness. So again, this is Ru Nu Pertham Haru. Ru meaning words, utterances. It can mean chapter or section as well. Nu, which is also plural because it agrees with the preceding noun, meaning of. M, for, of, to, towards. Haru, day, sun, sky. The book or chapters or the utterances of going forth into the light. You can also call it the book of enlightenment if you like. Because our ancestors have a fundamental belief of resurrection. This is an ancestalization text, a resurrection text. So this is the actual 42, which you might call the 42 laws, which is on chapter 125. Remember that. Where are the 42 laws located? In chapter 125. And this is sheet 31. And we all know about going to the double halls of Ma'at. You have to speak the truth, etc. Right? So this is the other side of that same sheet. And it's giving you a formula on how to go into the hall of Ma'at. And gives you a foundation for how you should conduct yourself daily. And why did I write this in red? It's because when you look on the left, you see red writing. Can everybody see that? So it's to match. No, I think the words of Jesus is in red as well, but we had it first. The correct procedure. I like that because, we're talking about, science. This is what we're supposed to do. In this hall of justice, one shall utter this chapter pure and clean and clad in white garments and sandals, painted in black eye paint and anointed with myrrh. We all like to burn, myrrh, incense and oils, etc. We have it in the text. There shall be offered to him meat and poultry, incense, bread, beer, and herbs. So yeah, many of us do practice vegetarianism, but understand that some of our ancestors still ate meat because it's on the offering table. Not saying you should start eating it now. When you have put this written procedure on a clean floor of ochre overlaid with earth, because the earth is sacred, upon which no swine or small cattle have trodden. So we already had the taboo against pork and pigs. It was already there. There's no Hebrews around at this point. See? It's already a taboo. And notice, pardon me, this is the Papyrus of Ani.
That's, what plate, what sheet is that?
Go back up. It's sheet 31.
Okay.
Sheet 31.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I had to make sure I had to think about something, make sure I was correct. The African-centered approach to prayer. So, when you deal with African tradition and religion, or culture, or societies, it's more than just, oh, let me just pray and I'm going to get everything. See? Now, granted, you have the psychological power to bring things into existence, yes. However, how do you visualize these things? I will argue that you start with the operative, then you come into the symbolic or speculative. You have to be able to operate in the ritual before you can use your visualization. You have to do things literal first, then you could do it symbolically. See? But many people and many traditions today may have forgotten how to do the actual ritual, so they're just copying off of what they see, not understanding the operation, the original operation. But we have the original operations because we are the first people. Right. So we still have the memory, we still practice these things. So it's important for you to practice. Prayer accompanied with ritual. Ritual is important because why? It makes you an active player, an agent, an operator in the operations of the universe. You're not just a passive person just letting things happen to you. You are deliberately turning the wheels of the occurrences and happenings of your life and the world around you. That is the importance of ritual. If you don't remember anything else, remember that. That's why you do ritual, to make yourself an active player in the mechanisms of the world. It means you are in activity. So going back to prayer, you know, it's not a thing where you're begging. So if you've ever practiced the Kemetic tradition or Ifa or any other traditional African practice, you know, you go to altars and things like that, and it's a sacrifice. It's a give and take. Reciprocity. Here's a prayer from Matu Imhat. He's a priest from the 25th dynasty of ancient Kemet. He says, "Hail to you, Amun, maker of mankind, Neter, who created all beings. I bow down to your name. May it be my physician. May it remove my body's illness. May it drive pain away from me." So the psychology here is that by invoking the name, you can psychologically have an effect on the rest of your body. And we understand it because they call it stress. When you're thinking about something, you know, that may bother you, it's called stress, and that affects the rest of your body. Make your blood pressure go up, okay? Right? So, you know, they say you might have a stroke, heart attack, you need to relax. See, so the mind has a profound effect on the body. Whereas when you speak words of power or hikau, things to heal you, that brings power into you to affect your body and your healing. So here's one. This is the Orisha Osanyin, who is an Orisha over healing. Osanyin, he knows the secrets of the plant. He is the forest. He is the healing inside. He is the chemistry or the chemical properties of the plants and herbs that you use to heal yourself. Gentle, easy lift, cool-headedness. Walnut shells cut the dog's mouth. Herb that must be cut in the early morning. Ogun, a term for a charm, medicine, or spell, that must be cast in the early mornings. Hail to you, herbs. So they made a deity or recognized the divine properties, or we might call this special healing chemical properties of plants. We call it divine, they may call it chemistry. So now we come to the pyramid of Unes. This comes from the what was called the Old Kingdom. So Unes, he was the last king of the 5th dynasty, and each king had who had a pyramid. Each pyramid has a name. So when you go into Washington, you don't say, "Oh, that's a monument." You say the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial. Each of these has a name. So each pyramid has a name, and we have to respect that and learn that. So the name of his pyramid is Unes Nefer Isut, which means perfect abode of Unes. So we have to respect our own. If they can get Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument, things like that, we need to be able to name our structures. So here's a picture of what goes on inside. These are the pyramid texts, or the Merkut text, which is the oldest religious or spiritual literature in the world, period. And Unes is the oldest. If you notice, it's all around. Even the ceiling has stars to represent the sky in which his spirit, your spirit, rises. That's the resurrection. That's why they call this the resurrection text. So we have to let our Christian brothers and sisters know that, you know, if you want to understand the resurrection, you have to go back to Kemet. So again, this is on the inside here. This is the northern wall of the burial chamber of Unis's pyramid. And yes, that some of that text actually matches the words there. We're not going to go into the detail, you know, but again, he's invoking power. And at this point, it's about libation. We all pour libation in here. Sensing. So of course, we know sensing is when it's like smudging. You're using incense to purify the air. And this part of ritual describes the deified spirit that's being accompanied by other spirits. This is the preparation of the morning meal upon the offering table. And the offering table is Hotep. So this is a list. I'm not going to go through all of this, but these are the steps in that part of the ritual. You have libation, sensing, cleansing of the mouth with salt, or natron. All right, natron is a sodium, like a super compound. And part of that compound is baking soda. And you use it today to cleanse. So you're continuing the practice of our ancient ancestors that go back to ancient Kemet. You put baking soda in your refrigerator, right? You use baking soda on your body. You use baking soda to clean the tub. Yes? Toothpaste. And what does it say here? Sensing the mouth, cleansing the mouth with salt, or natron. In fact, the word natron is a Greek rendition of a Kemetic word, which is netri. It's the same word necher. Netri means a purifying agent. When you go before the deity, you have to be what? What did the text say? Purified and clad in white, correct? And that's why natron, or netri, we should be calling it, is a white color. You have this association together. So when you go to the periodic table that we have in chemistry class, what's sodium? What's the symbol? Na. Well, netri. Yes. So our ancestors' ways are still all around us. So now don't go get table salt and start, you know, dousing yourself, okay? Libation and cleansing. Again, libation dealing with water. Preparation of the offering table, which is Hotep. And then cleansing of the mouth, cleaning the mouth again. So that's twice. All right, and then from there, you know, you have the offerings of foods, vegetables, fruits, etc. So we're seeing the emphasis on cleanliness. So here, this is the Pertham Heru, Paps Annie, sheet number 1. This is we're gonna call this the Dua Ra chapter. So this is where, you know, they're paying homage to Ra. Dua Ra Shefet Ubenef M Aket Yabi Net Pet. Adorations to Ra when he rises in the eastern horizon of heaven. So we were the first people to look in the direction of the sun when it rose and did prayers. Give ourselves a hand for that.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, so let's go back. All right, so now let's see. You see Ani with his wife. He doesn't go nowhere without his wife. So if you have a wife, don't go nowhere without her. But notice in front of him, he has offerings. He has fruit. He has vegetables, plants. All right. There you see ox or beef upon it. There's poultry. Never pork. You'll never see pork here. So this is the offering table. But what's next? Over here, feeding the egungun. And egungun is a Yoruba term for ancestor. We venerate our ancestors. And the offering is called ebo. Ebo. So if there's any Yoruba speakers here, please pardon me for if I kind of mess it up. But Hotep and ebo is the same thing because Hotep means offering, ebo means offering. But why or how is that? Here's another example. Notice that with the ebo on the right side, you see plants. Can everybody see that? See plants, you see food. Now in front of Ani, at the bottom, you see what? You see a plant. Yep, it's the same concept. You're continuing it today. So this image on the right side is a hotep slab. So when you give an offering, that action is hotep. It's a verb, it's a noun, right? So the action of giving or an offering is hotep. The food that you're giving is hotep. And that which you are putting it upon is hotep. So what does hotep mean? We know it means peace. It can mean grace, pacify, to sit or to rest. Again, food, meal offering is a word for bread. It can mean incense. And it has many, many other meanings. And if you get the book Aluja, Volume 1 by Asar Imhotep, again, please get that work. He goes through an entire list of the various meanings of hotep. Watch this. So in Middle Egyptian or in Kemetic, you have hotep meaning to rest or to sit. In the Kilimanjaro language, which is in Kenya, but that's one of the countries that's spoken, you have katepi, which means to sit or to rest. It's the exact same word. The difference is that katepi with the K sound, you compare the K sound with the H. The K is an older sound, which means that the H sound came after the K sound. That also tells us that the Kilimanjaro speakers are retaining the older form of the word. And many of the speakers are today in Kenya. Reference from Dr. Kipchwa Sambu and Asar Imhotep. So remember we kind of broke segment down S and the KM earlier. You can do the same thing with hotep. So HTP, take the put the H in front as a prefix. You have the TP. So the TP meaning upon, or in, or on, just like meaning to rest or to sit upon. So it has the exact same meaning as hotep. So now we're going into the more fundamental meanings. So now you can continue to do this. So you take the TP, look at the P. The P is the root of the word. And the P is interchangeable or cognate with a B, even within the Egyptian language or Kemetic language. You have Abu, which means offerings. What does hotep mean? Offering, but the root word also means the same thing, which is indicative of the presence of the root word. You have Aba, meaning altar or offering stone. You see where we're going with this? Now, in the Yoruba, the word for offering or sacrifice is what? Ebo. You see the exact same root with the B. So when you say Ebo, you're not only saying a Yoruba word, you're also saying a Kemetic word. It's inside of the language. We on the same page? Yeah. Of course, we can't speak about these things without mentioning Imhotep, because I called my mom Imhotep earlier. Now this is from Manetho. Zoser, I'm not going to use the Greek, in his reign lived Imhotep, or Imhotep, who because of his medical skill has a reputation of Asclepios among the Egyptians, and who was the inventor of the art of building in hewn stone. And I like that part. So for my Masonic brothers, you know, they'll give homage to King Solomon. Well, there's no record back then of that type of homage. This was on record. Imhotep is the originator of building in hewn stone, not Solomon. He also devoted attention to writing, etc. So this is why we call Shekinah an Imhotep, because he's multifaceted, a polymath, a multi-genius. And Imhotep means what? One who comes in peace. So we have here, this is Ameni, he's a physician. And the word for physician or doctor per se is Sunu. Now they'll translate it as physician or doctor, you know, but when we do some more work in a later period, we'll go into the more linguistics of it. But Sunu, I'll translate it as one who relieves pain, because there's an earlier or more simplified form of it, Un, which means pain. So we can come to that at another time. So he's a doctor, and we know his name because it's written. So you see he's facing this way, and his name is right in front of him, Ameni, one who belongs to Amen. And right above him it says Sunu. So he's a physician. How do we know that? Because we all have to study how to read our text. Now, some of you may have heard of the Edwin Smith Medical Papyrus. I'm going to take a license and call it the Wasetian Medical Papyrus because it was found in the sacred city of Waset, which means the city of power or the city of the scepter. So here, this is recto column 1. In other words, this is the front side. Column 1 or sheet 1, and then recto side, column 2, the second sheet. So that's just some lingo. That's lingo that Egyptologists will use. And it's written in what's called hieratic, as they call it. And it comes from hieratikos, which is Greek for priestly writing. So like hetero in hieroglyphic, sacred carving, same term. So let's look at some features of this medical papyri. This was copied in between dynasties 16 and 17. So we're going to just look briefly at case 32, case 33, and case 34. 32 is a shift. What do you do with shifted neck vertebrae? Somebody has some neck damage. What do you do when you have a dislocated collarbone? So this is not like a religious text. It is a medical scientific text. And why is it scientific? Because it has organization. So case 32, title. Now note that is written in red. And if you look at that, can y'all see the top line there? It's read from right to left. So we were writing right to left before the Arabs. Right to left. And where it begins, like towards the end, where it's red, that's the title. So the title is Practices for Settling in a Vertebra of His Neck. So it's telling you this is what it is. So when you go into a textbook, it starts off with the title of the section, correct? Who was doing it first? We were. And then it goes further down. Pardon me. So now let's go to case 33. The title, again, is not written in red. That's why it's in white here. Practices for a contusion in a vertebra of his neck. So contusion, what is that? An impact. So, because when that happens to your head, you get a concussion, right? Now here's the title for case 34. Practices for a dislocation in his collarbone. Again, we're looking at the same section, but further down at the last, you see red, and that's matching the red writing. So we're going to go a little bit of detail of case 34. So this section is examination prognosis. So we went to the title, now examination and prognosis. So first you have the diagnosis, which is already happening because you see he got something wrong with his neck. And you have to treat him. So it tells you how you're going to do it, how you're going to reset the bone. And understand that a diagnosis is what? You're establishing the cause or the nature of an illness or injury and the resulting impairments. Is that right, Mom? I want to make sure I got it right. And then you have prognosis. A prognosis is what? When you're putting together a program, how you're going to treat this ailment. That's a prognosis. Diagnosis, we've identified the cause, what's wrong. Prognosis is this is what we're going to do about it. Now, then we have a section called treatment. And again, the red matches the meta nature. Hieratic. Still sacred. And so now it's telling you what to do. Make it fall back into place. You have to bandage him with stiff rolls of cloth and treat him afterwards with oil and honey every day until he gets well. Hold on. So when you have a breakage, you have to wrap it tight, like an ace bandage, right? You still do it today. Why honey? See, honey, for example, if you have a cut and you're in your house, you can actually take your honey, and our elder Armand back there, I need some more honey, by the way. All right. And you can actually put it on your wound and wrap it, and it will help to heal the wound. It may be a little slower than say, direct hydrogen peroxide or an ointment, antibiotic ointment, but it still works. Why is that? Because the interaction, the honey interacting with your tissues, hydrogen peroxide is actually becomes isolated from the honey. And that's, if you ever put honey on a wound, you feel like a burning sensation. That's hydrogen peroxide that comes out of honey. And that's why our ancestors, they figured that out a long time ago. And then after that, now you have the examination. As for the dislocation in his collarbone, now you're making more commentary. So we all know what a triage is, right? Ambulances, first responders, EMTs. I'm an EMT. So, oh, just to let y'all know, when I took my, what's called the NREMT, the National Registry exam, about 2 years ago, I failed it the first time. And you know who I called? I called my mother. You know, like, you know, because I was really distraught because I failed this test, you know. And all the regular tests of the classes, you know, I was doing well. I did fail, you know, one regular test, okay? But again, we're studying, you know, 5 chapters, you know, every 2 days we have a test. So I called my mother and said, you know, I don't know what to do, you know, because again, if you fail it 3 times, then you're out. You know, and that's one for me. I'm like, man, I don't want to do this again, you know, la la la, you know. So she told me, she says, well, when I took my, what's the exam for nurses, Mom? NCLEX?
It was a state.
All right, the state board exam. She told me how she did it because she passed it the first time. See, I'm trying to get on her level. And this is what she told me. She says, there's 4 questions, and that's correct. There's 4 questions. 2 are wrong, 1 is right, 1 is correct. I'm like, damn, why didn't I think about that? And then she broke it down for me. How you identify the one that's correct and the one that's right. And the one you want is the one that's correct. So you eliminate the first 2 automatically. So we're gonna go through, here's a quick exercise in CPR. So let's just say you come upon a scene and you see a man, he's laying on the ground. And you know, the question is, what do you do? Say, oh, how am I on time, by the way?
Hour and 10 minutes.
All right, okay. So, you see the man, what do you do? 4 questions. Question 1, give him chocolate cake. Second one, give him some alcohol. Third one is do CPR, get an AED. Fourth one says, give him chest compressions, assisted breaths. Now, psychologically, since there's more words in the 4th one, you're naturally going to go to that one. However, there's more correctness in the 3rd one, CPR and AED and call for help. But since it's less letters, you automatically associate it with, nah, that's not it. It's the one that has more letters. That's the trick. So she taught that to me, and when I took it the 2nd time, passed it, knocked it out. So anyway, so now triage. What is triaging? Triaging is when you go into an accident scene, a disaster scene, and you have to automatically categorize people. Right? Who needs help right away? Who doesn't? So now you'll learn that triaging started with the French when they were transporting wounded soldiers away from the battlefield. So you mean to tell me that, you know, we went all this human history without knowing to move people from the battlefield? Well, did y'all know in the the Haitian Revolution, that Jean-Jacques Dessalines' wife actually went out to the battlefield and figured out who was alive and who was passed away, and she got the people who were alive and carted them back. Whereas if they had a warrior code, if you fall on the battlefield, that's it for you, even if you're still alive. So let's attribute that to her and not the French. So going back to the medical papyrus. So on the left you see what's said at the end of an examination. An ailment I will fight with. An ailment I will treat. So now in the triage, red, when you like put a red sticker or a red mark on someone, and you're an ambulance, it's immediate, shock, open fracture, burns. It means that person needs help right now because that person's about to die, but he may have a chance. Yellow, delayed, stable. So, okay, you know, I may have like a splintered, you know, or sprain my ankle, but I can't really walk. I'm yellow. But if I'm green, that means I can get up and walk out. This is how to do it. This is how we're trained to do it in seconds. Well, again, in the papyrus that we just went through, you have the exact same thing. An ailment I will fight with. In other words, he has a fighting chance, I'm going to go in. An ailment I will treat, which is yellow. And then you also have black, but I didn't put black here because you can't see it. But for the ailments, you put black, meaning that person's gone. So in the papyrus, you have the other option, an ailment for which nothing is done. We already had this triaging in ancient Kemet. All right, so here, I'm going to move on a little quicker here. So you have the head, which is the ori. And we know that the head is sacred in African traditions. So in the Yoruba language, ori can mean head. It's also a word for spirit. Ironically, the word heri in the Egyptian language or Kemetic language, it is a word meaning on or upon, anterior, that which is high. All right, that's why Heru is high. But then you have another derived word, heri, which means interior, above. Now, between the Yoruba and the Kemetic, the Yoruba dropped the H. So they don't use the H, whereas though in the Kemetic it's H, but in Yoruba they don't. So we have the same word here. Now we're not going to go into all the details. And then you'll have this word okra in the Twi language out of Ghana, which is a word for head. And then you have ka, okra is related to the word ka, spirit. It's really the same word. In the Yoruba, we believe that the spirit resides in the head because your mind is in the head, correct? Your psyche is here. Your spirit is here because the word psyche and the word spirit are actually the same word. Because the word spirit means to breathe or to blow. The word psyche is the same word, but you know the P is in front of the S, whereas on spirit the P comes after the S. You follow? All right. All right. So the spirit resides in the head. In fact, in the Akan tradition, they wear shrines on top of their heads because they understand that the head is a conduit of the spirit. And we can even think about when a newborn baby where it has an opening here. So then you wonder where people in India get the whole chakra concept from. But who were the first people to recognize you have this sacred opening here and who covered the head? That would have been African people. So here's an anatomical term here found on the papyrus. Re, meaning mouth. Ro, Yoruba, to give sound with the mouth. Anu, in the Akan language. But the N and the R are interchangeable, same word. The word Iri, Ari, is a word for eye. You find that on the papyrus, but then you find this in other African languages. In the Jimmy language, in Cameroon, you have Yara. That's why I was hoping Yara was going to be here so I could tell him, hey, your name means the eye or meaning to see. In the Masa language in Chad, Iri, Ira, eye. In Beha language, Iri, see. Iraku language in Tanzania, Ara, to see. And of course, we always use our own images, right? Now, of course, we've seen this before, the eye of Heru. And we know that it's also a symbol of healing and protection because when Heru went to fight Set, he was not in his right mind. He was immature. He was not equipped. He was not prepared. So he lost his eye in that confrontation. And this is what happens when you don't use your spiritual eye, when you don't use your proper judgment or higher order thinking, because you're not seeing the outcome. You're not seeing things ahead. So, and then the eye becomes divinized. But here's something interesting, that we always see that parts of the eye is always associated with fractions. So the Sunu, the physicians, also use the symbolism as a mathematical formula. Because when you put it all together, you get 63 over 64. Why? You know, I find that really interesting because it's never 64 over 64. that can teach us that no matter how much knowledge you have, how complete you think you are, there's always that 1/64th that you don't know, that you must learn. Even in the Yoruba system, you have the Orishas. See, you have 400 plus 1 on the right, which are benevolent, good, and 200 plus 1 on the left. Why is it, and then you may have 600 plus 1. What is the plus 1? The plus 1 is the extra knowledge that you still have to learn. Took this image from Ankh Ra's book, Let the Ancestors Speak. He is a venerated ancestor. He's my first instructor in metal nature. So on the right, you have the cursor form. This is how you write, and you see the parts of the eye there, and the equivalent fractions. So this is the Kahun gynecological papyrus. So it speaks about the women's conditions, birth control, what you do, when you're on your moonly, which is divine, by the way. There's nothing wrong. You should never be ashamed of that cycle, because you're supposed to go through the cycle. You're not unclean. You're not accursed because of it. You are divine. So here we have some quotes. Vegetables and natron are the best foods that can be found. And this is from the instructions of Pepor. So it's telling you, you need to eat plants.
Spice well.
And you can spice it up. But here, let's do this interpretation here. Natron or netri is used to clean outside of your body. So you have to be pure on the inside, feeding your body, right? And it's vegetables with high fiber that helps to clean the body, correct? And when you want to do a cleanse, what do? You're using herbs, which is nothing but concentrated vegetables inside your body, and netri, which is used on the outside of your body. So you have to be pure on the inside and pure on the outside. You have to be pure in the mind side and pure on the body side. We on the same page? Next one. Illness befalls a man because the food harms him. This is ancient knowledge here. This didn't just happen with modern day America. Illness befalls a man because of the food he harms him. So, what you're eating, all kind of junk food and things that harm you. Remember, in the 42, it says, I have not defiled my body, right? He who eats too much bread will suffer illness. Diabetes. We already have the knowledge. This isn't, 18th, 19th century Europe. And they may have just figured it out. But this papyrus is BC times, according to their time. He who drinks too much wine lies down in a stupor, losing your coordination and all the things we described earlier. All kinds of ailments are in the limbs because of overeating. What happens when you overeat? Blood pressure goes up, all kinds of things. In fact, real quick, when you're eating too much, what happens is this. The more adipose tissue that's on your body, right? And that's just a fancy way of saying fat tissue. And again, we all have adipose tissue. It doesn't matter how thin you are, it doesn't make a difference. Everyone has it. What happens is, since you have extra tissue that has to be nourished, extra blood cells are being formed. So there's more tubes being formed. But guess what you don't have extra of? You're not going to have extra blood. So with the extra conduits, what that can do is affect your blood pressure, because you're adding conduits in extra space. So your heart has to pump harder to get the blood to the extra space that's created by the extra tissue. And that's how blood pressure goes up. To be honest, does that make sense? Yeah. All right, we got to make it plain. He who is moderate in his manner of life, his flesh is not disturbed. That kind of, reminds us of Buddhism, where they talk about the middle path, but really it's the other way around. So you have to do things in moderation. Is that right? You can't do, in fact, if you drink too much water, you can actually drown just from drinking too much. See? So too much of anything is bad. Illness does not befall him who is moderate in food. Do all of your foods in proportion and moderation. Again, this is the sacred text. And we will end with this. From the instructions of Ankh Shashank, do well by your body in your days of well-being. Ashe. All right.
Good job.
That was a beautiful, beautiful presentation, very informative. I hope y'all took notes. At this time, we're going to take a brief intermission, about a 10 to 15 minute break. Please do support the vendors in the
strikes attention, trapped in poverty, generations of injustice and inequality. Ancestors changed the world, and though they came in chains, in you the strength and hope lives and still remains. You're mighty and majestic, descendants of kings and queens, royal blood flows through your veins, children of the dream. Hold your head up high. Keep reaching. No matter what, I know where you can take it. No doubt about it. You're gonna make it. You're royalty. Royalty. You are royalty. You're royalty. We got a message from above. You ain't no thug. You're royalty. Royalty. Brother, you're a king. Sister, you're a queen. Children of the dream. If you've never been told, time for you to know you're royalty.
spreading the most high. Head high, I shine like my father smile. Down upon my kings and queens of all times. Blessings, man of color, original king ruler. Slave that made it way metaphorically. King Kunta. Eyes on prize, my pride won't collide. Am I right in your eyes if I stand on mine? You are royalty. We got a message from above. You ain't no thug. Children of the dream. If you've never been told, time for you to know you're royalty. If you've never been told, time for you to know you're royalty.
Yeah, guys, this is our brother Ivan. Eyes are awake. He's trying to talk. Don't strain, my brother. Don't strain. But we with you.
It's all right, Ivan.
We're with you, brother.
It's all right. It's all right.
This is beautiful. This is beautiful, family.
Proud of you, Ivan.
Good, bro? How you feeling, man? The elder, man, you know I'm here to see you, bro. Make sure you're all right. It's December the 30th, man. You've been hanging in there for a while, bro. You've been doing good. We're going to see you going into 2017. Hopefully we'll try to get back here next week sometime. I got a feeling you're going to be sitting up looking at us, man, when we come in here. Howling at us. All right, bro. So we're going to head on out, man. Catch up with you next time we're here, okay? Stay strong, bro. Hey guys, this is Mr. MQ. As you can see, we're up here. Actually, I'm leaving the area where Ivan was at, and I'm in this we're in this parking lot to get a quick grub. And you can see that we had a lot of snow up here in the northern parts. In my area, which is a little further south over in Jersey, we didn't get this much snow. And based on this, it was a lot because this stuff hasn't even melted yet. Where I'm living at, there's no snow at all. But, going back to what we encountered here with Ivan, he's still the same. I think the difference is with him was that he was actually sitting in a wheelchair, in a side chair this time. But he still want a trach. He still wants some kind of artificial support. Although it's not like a total you know, dependency on the machine, but it is, he's still on a trach, and he still looks basically the same, but he is out of the hospital. He has the infection is under control, and now he's back at the nursing home. As a matter of fact, this is a nursing home right now. I'm driving by. You can see down there on the side as I drive by. There's the building right there, and now I'm going up to the turnpike to go home. So, you know, that's really all I wanted to tell you guys. I'm gonna put this in the group, and if I have any other information about Ivan, which I hope that we do, I'll keep you guys, you know, informed. Obviously, I'll do a post a little later, but I wanted to get this to the group. Peace. Yeah, we're here with our warrior, Ivan Irby, aka Afrikanus. You see, he rocking that black and gold raising awareness group shirt. Compliments of our board, James Bowser, Pan-African Designs. And as y'all can see, Ivan's still not quite out of his, you know, very, very traumatic experience yet. But we're here as we usually are. I'm here with my friend Kufu, co-founder of the Raising Awareness Group.
Peace, peace.
And this is it, man. And this is all part of our usual trek up to see our friend. See how he can move his arm and everything. It's always good to see. Actually, I think he's hearing us right now. He's making faces. But just wanted to do a real quick video. We do have permission and from his mom, Miss Rose, and we have her blessing. And hopefully we'll be able to be talking to our friend and our Raising Awareness Group member and warrior, Afrikanus, very, very soon. Peace, family. What's up, Bob? What's up, bro? Yeah, I hear you, man. I see you trying to wave hi to us, man. Cool, you check that out. See, he was trying to say hi to us? Yep. Come on, warrior. You'll be here when you come out of that thing, man. Hang in there. Peace.
Everybody, that includes our tribute to Ivan.
I want to introduce Ivan's mother. She came up here to witness the tribute and also gave us permission to make these the video and the pictures public. And let's give her a real round of applause. And as we always do, we'll keep Ivan in our divine thoughts and healing prayers.
Well, I'm Miss Rose. I am Ivan's mother, and I want to thank anyone who's put in any prayer, anything for Ivan, because he's come a very long way. It was almost like a miracle when I saw him on Good Friday, wiggling his hands, because he hasn't been able to move anything, and he's been in that predicament since September. Yeah. I thank myself. I've gone through so much. But anyway, hopefully it'll keep getting better, because this is a miracle. Just what you saw. And Kim is going there tonight. She's going to take some pictures, because he has been moving ever since they started putting him in a chair. I think you saw him in a chair. They put him in the chair. He can't walk. He can't talk. All right, thank you so very much. Keep on keeping on what you've got going. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Rose. Thank you, Ms. Rose. Thanks for coming out. We had the mic off, by the way. Okay, what we're going to do now is bring up one of our affiliate groups out of Pittsburgh, Ipet, Isut, and great brother and elder, Brother Tdka, is going to help us give you a rundown on our forthcoming rites of passage. So at this point, I'll bring up Brother Tdka.
No tip, everyone. Can you hear me in the back?
Yes, sir.
I don't need a mic. My name is Brother Tdka Bruce. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I am like the chief administrator of the Ipet Isut. I don't know if any of you have seen that on Facebook. Look it up, Ipet Isut, the most sacred of places.
Yes, sir.
IPETISUT. We just opened up our YouTube channel, which we will have museum programs. What I do is, have any of you heard of J.A. Rogers?
Yes.
All right, well, we're getting ready to republish one of J.A. Rogers' original publications. But anyway, I'm a modern J.A. Rogers with a video camera. Now, Brother McCoon asked me to come here to speak about the Rites of Passage program that they're going to start. Rites of Passage are not just for children. Life, you go through rites of passage. When you get married, when you graduate from elementary school. All of these are rites and ceremonies that were mentioned earlier, and that's how you inculcate your culture. So rites of passage when you get married, when you have a baby, when you graduate from college. So a brother and I got into a discussion, and he thought that rites of passage were only for little kids. I'm telling you, you go through this all your life. When you become an elder, when you become a parent, those are rites of passage, different responsibilities that you have to assume. When you become a grandparent or a mentor, so to speak. So about, I don't know, in the 90s, myself, some other people from Pittsburgh, my wife was a 32-year science and math teacher. So we started a Rites of Passage program for our young African American men. Now, Rites of Passage programs differ around the country, depending on the emphasis that they place. Brother Paul Hill, who I noticed that you guys borrowed from, he helped us get started. He's a brother out of Cleveland. He's written a number of books about rites of passage as it relates to younger people mostly. He assisted us. He was just in Pittsburgh not too long ago. But we drew from him. And are you familiar with Jawanza Kunjufu? Yes. He has a book about African American history. So when we started our Rites of Passage program, we went from maybe 5 up to 17, 18 years old. Like I said, my wife was a science and math teacher. We broke it into half. She would handle the first half, which would always be academics. Even we went all year round. So even when school wasn't in, when they came on Wednesday, they had to do their academics first. We had our ceremonies, rituals that we opened up in the unity circle, and also they're going to use the Nguzo Saba. We use the Nguzo Saba. A brother that I helped work on the Council of Elders thing in LA, they have a Rites of Passage program, and they use the teachings of Ptah-hotep, the oldest book in the world. That's their base, as well as the Nguzo Saba and the 10 principles. So culturally, what I love is the fact that everybody knows what Sankofa means, but we don't practice it. Everybody knows what the bird's looking backwards, grabbing the egg and bringing it forward, but we don't bring it forward. Like the brother that spoke earlier, there's a lot of traditions that come out of our culture that we can utilize today. So we pay homage to the concept of Sankofa, but we very seldom practice it. So that's what I like, but we're trying to put these things into application today and make it relevant to the children. So in the second half of our Rites of Passage program, that's when the men would take over. That's when we would watch When Black Men Ruled the World by brother out of
Supreme Understanding.
Yeah, I forget, out of LA. You know,
Supreme Understanding was
LeGrand Clay. We use those kind of videos, you know, to teach. And when we have videos, it's not like when I went to school when they showed the movie, we all sat in the back and went to sleep. We watched the video with the lights on, with a pencil and a pad, and each one of the kids had to tell us either 10 things that you learned or 10 things that you thought were important. And then after we watched the video, we would go around and ask them, give me one thing off of your list. You tell me, I interact with you a little bit, give me one thing off of your list. And we would go around the room. So we, like I said, we started out trying to use Jawanza Kunjufu's book. What we found out is, as you would know, without people you can only be but so rigid. Now when you have a book and you're teaching a course, they have to be there every day or every week so that you can finish chapter 1, move on to chapter 2. What we found is in the application process that the kids come 1 week, they miss 3 weeks. Come 4 weeks, they miss 2 weeks. So they weren't consistent. What we did is we had volunteers that bought the books for the children, and they signed and autographed them. And I always tell our young men, when you're doing the right thing, people that you don't even know will come to your aid. I said, now you have this book that somebody bought for you that you don't know this person, but they're willing to reach back and help you, so they bought this book for you. But like I said, we wound up finding that we couldn't use a traditional course system. So what we did was, instead of trying to teach a class that has 8, 9, 10 chapters, what we did is we designed everything we did for that day was something that you could take away that day. So it didn't matter whether you were here the week before, you learned something that day that you could move forward. Okay? I just want to talk real quick. Okay. And so I shared this information. I used to tell the smallest child in the room, put a penny on your baby finger. Any child can do that. How much does it weigh? Not much. What can you buy with it? Nothing. You can hardly buy anything with $1 today. But every week, we met every Wednesday. They would have to bring $1 worth of pennies every week. We had office water bottles. Everybody's seen one of them. If you fill an office water bottle up with 25, well, with pennies, you have $275 when you fill it up. Now, I learned that by just doing it on my own. right? For a number of reasons. Number one, like I said, pennies are the only money that look like us. And they're worth the least. Okay? But they represent you, your brother, your cousins, the people you go to school with. Each penny in that jar represents one of our people. Okay? You can actually physically see it grow as you put the pennies in there. Now, the smallest one put the penny on his baby finger, right? But when you get that jar halfway filled up, brother, you can't pick it up. What that shows is there's power and strength in numbers. Plus, when you fill the jar up, you got $275. Now, I learned that by just doing it myself. I had 8 water bottles filled to the top. When I decided to get married, my wife and I went out. I told her, pick what ring you want. Because 10 years from now, I don't want to hear it. And you didn't let me get what I wanted. I said, get whatever you want. She said, oh, will it cost? I said, I don't care. I paid the deposit. The lady said, I'll send you the book, the payment book. I went and cashed my pennies in. You do the math, 8 times $275. I paid for my wife's wedding ring with those pennies. Didn't cost me anything out of my pocket. So that's when I transferred that same principle to our Rites of Passage program. So we used that to fund, we came up here for the Million Woman March. We came up here for the Greek picnic. We used to make our own t-shirts and bring the kids up here for that. So I shared some of this information with them to help them put their Rites of Passage program together. And what I like is that they have a skill set that they have to obtain when they get a certain age or a certain part. And we didn't have that. But I like that, my brother Maku, how you guys have it very detailed and very outlined. Have they seen a copy of the outline?
No, we're not ready to do any publication right now at this point.
Well, when they do, you'll find it's very thorough. Very thorough. And like I said, Brother Paul Hill helped them put this together, and I did also. Now, I'm going to use, they use rap videos in a negative way, so we can use video in a positive way to influence and socialize our children. So I just want to thank you for having me up here, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Brother Tdka. That's a prime example of how we network and how we build with groups. We have brothers in the audience here, brothers back in the back in vending, Brother Amarad, Al-Sarim Hotep. Again, Brother Kaka, thank you for coming out.
Oh, you're welcome.
And as we put this program together, as he said, we did a lot of good work, and we came up with some pretty good ideas why we should do a Rites of Passage. But I want to recognize a brother who just got his doctors. Yes. Dr. Maat Africa. Did I do that right? Dr. Mukasa Africa Maat. Come on up for a minute, brother. And this brother is also going to help us put together, finalize our Rites of Passage as well. Just give us a couple seconds, man.
Sure. I wasn't, I'll speak without the mic. Let me know if I might not project as much, but it's a little tangled up right there. Real quick, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. Not even a single parent home, really a no parent home because there were no functional adults in my home. I met my father when I was 11. My mother, she suffers from some disabilities as well as alcoholism. Cousins, brothers, everybody came and went in prison. At 16, I almost went down for 6 years for robbery. I dropped out of high school, stayed involved in gangs for a number of years, experimented with some chemical substances, drank, smoked, ran, fought, dropped out of high school, I didn't say that, and while sitting in Cook County Jail with the possibility of 6 years in prison, I was introduced to 3 books by a man who stepped into my life as a father figure, David Castro, and he introduced me to Autobiography of Malcolm X, Let the Trumpet Sound by Stephen Bio's biography of Dr. King, and Naeem Akbar's Change the Images of Psychological Slavery. And that put me on a trajectory that changed my life. I went to Chicago State University. I got my bachelor's in Black Studies. I went on and studied under Baba J.D. Shimsu Jehudi, who, if you don't know him, you should, Jacob Hudson Carruthers. I studied under him personally. Came to Philadelphia. I wanted to work in an African-centered school, an independent African-centered school. So I first worked at Lotus Academy in their Rites of Passage program. I helped build Rites of Passage in various schools throughout the city. A lot of people have used my works. I've published essays online, literally thousands of pages of information online that's free.
Kevin Williams
But in addition to my free published information, I have 4 ebooks: African-Centered Sabayet, that's on education, Pan-Africanism, and versus terrorism, where I look at how Africans have been slaughtered by the tens of millions in our lifetime. I'm not talking about 1,000 years ago, that's important, but in our lifetime, we have our people in bondage. You look at what's happening in Libya right now today, they're selling people in open markets in Libya. You look at the Congo, 10 million people died in the Congo War, Rwanda, the Angola, the blood diamonds. So we have these wars. So the least that I can do, not the most, the most I can do is get up in arms and go over there. But the least that I can do is publish this information. So I have the 4 ebooks. I published my master's paper, which was under Baba Jedi, that's Pan-Africanism and the Back to Africa movement. So while in education, I wrap up, I just said a couple minutes, I make this a couple of minutes. While in education, I had the opportunity to touch the lives of a lot of young people. I helped build these Rites of Passage programs. I turned around schools where you would walk into a school and the kids would run the school. Give me 6 months in that school and everybody was in their seats. So I helped turn around schools. But in the meantime, I saw people being promoted ahead of me. I had 2 masters. I got a second master's from Univ Mercy under educational leadership. But I saw people being promoted ahead of me. I said, something's wrong with this. I put in the work, the blood, sweat, and tears. I turned schools around, built programs, introduced African-centered education.
We talked about that.
So I figured, you know what, I need to go back and get my doctorate. My doctorate is on Rites of Passage. My dissertation is on Rites of Passage. I completed it. I defended successfully just this past Wednesday.
Yes.
I was the witness. It's on Facebook as well. It's on YouTube, so you can find the full defense from intro to the vote by my committee. I didn't want to just do a dissertation on the study of homework or the color of dirt, or I wanted it to be on something important, and Rites of Passage. What I found is that it reduces, as the brother was saying, it changes lives, it reduces antisocial behavior, it teaches young people, young ladies and young men how to become adults. It gives them the education that's a core part of our identity as a people. And it's not new. Our ancestors taught rites for thousands of years. There was no education without Rites of Passage. So what I've argued is that it's the missing subject. It's not only something that's needed in education, but it's a missing core subject. This is the recommendations, the implications of my findings. That you can't talk about education with only math, science, reading, and arithmetic. You can't talk about education with just the study of the moons of Jupiter and the water cycle of Earth. You cannot talk about education without discussing Rites of Passage, coming of age instruction for young people. If we do that, and I found my data showed this, if you allow people to age chronologically, or if you allow them to go from grade to grade, in certain communities, in the type of community where I come from, I'm a former gang member, I don't hide it. I'm a former street hustler, I don't hide that, I'll let you, but I'm a doctor as well. And I'm telling you that if you allow people young people to age without teaching them about identity, about culture, they not only become lost, they become antisocial. They become like the teenager that I was, that might, if I ran into you on the street, I might be interested in what was in your purse or your wallet. I didn't know any better. I was taught this. I was taught to hate my brothers because they wore different colored shirts and they wore their hats a certain way, different colors, or they was under a 5-point or 6-point star. And we like literally got in fights on the streets of Chicago. People died, people still die. A lot of my friends did. So that rites of passage not only changes the lives of those young people, but other people who get their doctorates, who go off and don't do anything for our community. We got all these doctors in finance and economies and political science, but meanwhile, look at what's happening to our community. How can we have so many doctors that are MBAs and we need black businesses? We need business development in our community. So rights also, as the elder brother said, it also teaches, it's needed for us as adults, and it teaches us our obligations and our commitment to our community. Last thing, 1 minute, last thing, character. I ain't gonna name no names because I know some people, like certain people that are running around giving these speeches and stuff, but you are not a man, number one, if you don't respect our community, if you don't respect our women. If you got issues with the color of anybody in our community, we come in all these different shades, you are not a leader. If you have poor character I'm not talking about one person, you can imagine a few of them, but if you have poor character, we cannot excuse that in leadership. So we need our men to be men, we need our men to be fathers, we need our women who are really doing their job to continue being mothers, and we have to build our community. So this is some of my work. I didn't mention
Africa Maat. That doctor said I was good in front of that name. And as you can see, we're in good hands. We have Brother Tdka, Dr. Maat. We have the organization you guys may be familiar with, oh my God, the Society of Igbe in Baltimore. We're working with those guys as well. They're more into more ceremonial rites of passage program down there. We want to have a mixture of everything. We want the education, we want the consciousness, and we want the ceremony. So we're close, and we're asking you to, in the next months, look us up on our website or on our YouTube page. And if you're interested, not only for your child, but also to volunteer, especially the men, we would welcome your help. We surely would. But at this time, I want to bring up Kevin Williams, and he's going to do the honors of introducing our next speaker. Thank you, guys.
Good afternoon, Black African Power.
Good afternoon.
My name is Kevin Williams. I am a proud member of the Raising Awareness Group. I hope everybody here is having a good time, as I am. Today, our next guest that I'm proud to introduce is a teacher, author of many books, founder member of the University of Kemet Press, with books, titles such as African Time, Bach 2, Survival Organization, just to name a few. Without further ado, I am proud to introduce Dr. Tdka, Kilimanjaro.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Hello, everyone.
Hello, my brother.
Let me see if this works. I'm gonna see how the microphone goes, and then I'll see if I can do it without it. The first thing I want to do is ask an elder, my elder, to give me permission to speak. In the African tradition, and we're discussing relationships today between youth and elders, this is a fundamental thing that we do. We appreciate what our elders have done to lay the foundations for us. And our youth, we appreciate and know that they're the ones that are going to push everything forward. Like Dr. Maat came up, explained his place in life and struggled through it and ended up with his degree. Give that young man a hand again. None of this is easy. None of it is easy. And every time I think about how difficult things are, I see raising awareness starting from nothing, little or nothing, 2 or 3 years ago, and here we are with numerous groups unifying, organizing themselves, working together, and even coming, sharing the microphone with other groups. So I just love to give Raising Awareness group a hand. Appreciate that. Mku, I thank you for your work, your guidance. It's much appreciated. I'm going to spend a few seconds talking about something off the cuff, and then I'll get to the core of what we're discussing. I actually sat down and moved material into a book format for this presentation. The book we ended up with was called Perronk, House of Life. Healthy Communities, Elders, and Youth Relations. And the first thing, and I said it was off the cuff, that's important to me is that we have reciprocity between all of our people. We have a situation where we can look out and we're supposed to be in the same foxhole fighting against the same enemy, and we have situations where we're in the same foxhole shooting at each other while the enemy is shooting at us. And so part of what made me want to do this presentation was what we saw last year, some of the struggles that were taking place with young people and some of the younger people, dispersion or saying negative things about elders, and then the elders are then trying to at least make a statement that, well, all of that's not true. And so again, we're going to spend a few minutes getting to that. But before I get to that, I want to make a comment about why we do our work the way we do it. Youth become elders. Elders live again in youth. All of us who have reached our 50s, as I had, pretty much know that we have fewer days ahead of us than we've already lived. We know that. And we also know that whatever we have been doing should have been and should be passed on to our young people. And so we're going to have a medium to do it. And so I appreciate Kaka getting up and explaining what they were doing, and then, you know, what he can continue to do at our age to make certain that our youth get the information that's necessary for them to move forward. So you pretty much see that at some point in your life, no matter who you are or what you are, you pass on to the next realm. The problem has been when many persons pass on to the next realm, before they go, they have not left what they have learned to the young people to move forward. That's what we're literally dealing with today. And so I, at a very young age, I should say in my 20s, made a decision. I actually saw a person when I got in a PhD program myself who was helping me, and he passed. And right before he passed, he said, I wish I would have put this in print. And he was in his 60s. I found out he had cancer, and like 6 months later, he was gone. And he said it to me, I wish I had put this in print. And so you can't wait until you're in your 60s or 70s to start writing down what you want the youth to have in these organizations. You can't wait. And so I started in my 30s. And so we could not get stuff published. Whites are not going to publish the material that we produce, no matter how advanced it is. I still have the book contracts, 3 book contracts. Most of them were in statistics and research methods, but we had them. McGraw-Hill was one of the publishers. We wrote the book, put the material in place, and they wanted us to change that the Africans were at the center of mathematics. We wouldn't change it. They wanted us to change that Africans, Kemet, was at the basis for research methods. We had the matter nature to prove it. They didn't want that in those books. And that's real. And so, again, either you can play their game and stay in there and publish what they want, get your little paycheck, get tenure, stay in there, and then get old, drawing your check, and have not produced anything that would help us, but only help them. Or you can make a decision that, okay, I'm going to keep doing my research, I'm going to keep writing material down in journals, And at some point, when I get enough resources, we're going to print it. So someone asked me, how is it that you all were able to get done 16 books in 3 years? And 3 of them over 1,000 pages. How were you able to do that? Well, we kept working over a 25-year period. My seeing an elder who I respected pass away before he could pass on what he had learned, and he was perhaps the greatest demographer, black demographer I've ever known. I should say demographer I've ever known. And I've been through whole processes with the white folks and all that, but this guy understood it very well. So I say all that to say, just seeing him passing and saying to me before he passed in that 6-month period, I wish I had transitioned this information to our young people. So I say this importantly, that whatever you're doing now to earn and pay your bills, you're younger, the things that you must do, because the whites are not going to pay you to do this, you still should be doing that too. Let me say that again. Whatever you're doing, coming through the ranks, Dr. Maat, you get in the university, you got to get on their little track, publish or perish. You get in there, they want you to publish stuff and go through white people's peer review. Once you get in there, you're going to have to make a decision. How am I going to eat, pay my bills, but at the same time get our work done on the highest level? You're going to have to be doing 2 things. You're going to have to be doing our work and their work. That's what I did. Well, I'm saying the 2 things you're going to have to do is our work first and their work. You're going to have to make sure that gets done. Because this is what you said, and some other people have said it. You got all these folk with PhDs and have been in these universities for 20, 30, 40 years, maybe 50, and have written nothing for us. Nothing. All the stuff they've written is basically for the white folk, and then tried to push it off and say you can use this too. And you notice we hadn't gotten much of anything out of it. So having said that, we were able to do our work in this manner because we were doing 2 things. We were working, doing our people's work, and at the same time getting whatever was necessary, minimal, to get their work out of the way and moving forward. So yes, we were able to push these things through because we were working for 25 years, keeping journals, and at some point 3 years ago we got some time to do the work. And so we have the books in presentation for you on the back table. For the first time, we were able to print all 16 of them at the same time. We've never been able to do that because we didn't have the money. We first would print 5, and we would sell them to print the next 5. That's how we had to do it. And so at some point, we got some assistance recently with that. And so the rest is history. The point I'm trying to make is you can't push yourself away from what you need to get done because other people won't help you. And this is what I'm speaking to the young people on. It's most important to continue on the track because somebody will see you and they will, if they have the integrity that we're going to discuss in a few minutes, they will do the necessary things to help you. Amin Ra Squad, people will see what you're doing, the ones who have integrity. ASR, they will see the work that you're doing, the quality work that you're doing. And at some point, the ones who have integrity will step forward. We have to have more people with integrity stepping forward. We have people with resources. People have money. People have means, technical means. They have abilities. The question is, are they going to go to their grave, as I brought up earlier, with that stuff in them and not having spread it out to other people? And this is what has been the case in many regards with many of our people, especially in the African Synod movement. Many have gone to their graves with stuff they should have made sure the young people got their hands on, or even resources that they should have made sure that young people got their hands on. So that is the off-the-cuff summary that I wanted to give. So I'm going to transition right now into, and it will move faster, transition into our discussion for today. But when you're discussing anything around relationships, you have to have context. You can't discuss a relationship about anything unless you know the conditions that that relationship is organized around. And what I've seen in the past is people start talking about a relationship between young people and older people, and we're in the middle of a war, and you're around here telling people to talk nicely to each other. The context is important. And so what I'm going to do is walk us through some points, and once we get through the points, you'll see why the slides fit. Because what will happen then is I'll go through the slides, color slides, and in the process get some order to how we got in this situation. So the first part of it is to read off some questions. African relationships within their context, 2017. What were the conditions of black population before this 2,700-year wave of predatory onslaught? You have to know that we were once on our feet. We didn't have the issues that we have now. We once cared for each other. We were once not in the same foxhole shooting at each other while other people were shooting at us. We were once organized in the most highly, and as Brother Sonjedi said, most advanced civilizations first along the Nile River. We first did that. And yet now we've gone through a situation where the bottom was forced out underneath us. What was lost? You have to be able to get the context of what was lost. How was it lost? Who took it? How did they take it? What did they take it with? When did they take it? Where did they take it? Why were they able to take so much from so many for so long while causing so much pain, suffering, death, and destruction? And why did we not rise up and end it? That's one question that might be a whole book. You have to take your time and then get through it, get an understanding for it. Then you will actually put yourself in a position to know why whatever you've gotten from them as far as how to live your life, you need to get rid of it. Because that's how they're living their life to take advantage of us. I'll say that again. Whatever you learned from them to organize your life, your moral life, your life of what they call integrity, all of these things, you can't hold on to that and then work with us, work with people who have integrity. You're going to have difficulties because you're actually operating on what they have taught you on how to deal with us in a negative way, usually. What frustrated black unity and absolute independence movements? What are the conditions of the black population now? What must be restored? How must it be restored? Who must restore it? Why? When? Where? We've had persons speak to that. And in the final analysis, those questions have to be answered when you're dealing again with relationships that have been frayed because of these conditions that other people cause. What must be redeemed, resurrected, revolutionized in order to restore the African civilization and population to where they naturally would be if it were not for this 2,000-year great suffering? What will it take to catch up? To come from behind and to overcome the almost insurmountable weight of these millennia of oppression? What will it take to win? How will we do it? Who will do it? And that's why we wrote these large books, because we wanted to at least put in place a foundation for young people. We didn't want to take it to our graves. Put in place a foundation for them to build on. And so in the final analysis, we have got to get better as elders of putting in place foundations for young people to build on. I'm not going to read all of these, but the one that I put in yellow is the one I want you to get. How are we going to proceed? Where will we begin? What are we going to be up against when we're making this change? How will we prepare differently this time? Where will we start? When will it be most advantageous to start? What will it take? What theory of method, strategy will we need? What type of doctrine? What guiding principles are necessary? Everything that we're talking about here today should be summed up in guiding principles. Even, Asar, when you finish the work on the meta nature you're doing, at some point you need to get guiding principles of how to do meta nature work the way you do it, so so other people can see your methodology, how you went about going that. You see a lot of things on our table. 4 of the books are methods books. We want people to know how to do things, not just what we did, but how to do it so they can do it too. What good is building a car and no one else knows how to make it either? I mean, when they need a car, they got to go to somebody else to get it or buy it. Why not teach how that car was built, every single step, every single part, how the parts were made, how they were assembled, how in the final analysis you designed that car from that? Why not teach that? Not just give some person a piece of bread or a piece of fish, or fish. Why not teach them how to fish? And so we've got to get better at doing this with our youth. I'm going to get through this one. What type of doctrine and guiding principles are necessary? What economy, other than slavery, feudalism, capitalism, black folk have spent the last 1,300 years under the rule of others? What form of society and economic system of production, distribution, exchange, consumption, reproduction? Most people start talking about black economics and they start with capitalism. I mean, it's amazing how we're not even thinking about what we would do if we were in charge of the economy. I often put this on Facebook. Some don't get it. But if you really wanted to get away from white folks and you had a rocket that would do it, they just had something that went out to Pluto, took pictures of Pluto. Pluto is a planet, or sometimes they call it a planet, sometimes they say it's not a planet. But the point of the matter is the farthest planet is revolving around the sun. If you want to get away from white folks, that would be a good place to go. It'd be very cold. It'd be cold, but you could go there. They have means to get there. It takes some time. But the thing that really hits home is when you get there, if you have not corrected these things, this mess that we've gotten from these white folk, that's how you would set your society up when you get there. That's how you would set your economy up when you get there. Your names would be white people's names. You got them from them, or Arabs. Your holidays would be white people's holidays. Your gods would be white people's gods. You go down the list. Every single thing that you got from these people in them destroying us, you would have to build your society on Pluto with that stuff. And so when we start on us and talking about relationships, we have to get to the point that we've got to get rid of some stuff in order to even come together. We think we can come together with all this stuff we done got from these invaders who are trying to destroy us and then have a good relationship with one another. We can't do that. It's not been working. You've seen what has happened. So I'm closing. What elements of an indigenous society, a civilization, material culture do we model? Do we modernize? Do we materialize? When I read the work that Sonjedi and Asar and those are doing in Meta-Nature Waju, I'm appreciative of the fact that they already understand that we need our language back. And the first one and the most advanced one in antiquity was Kemet's language. Most advanced. So why not build on that? So someone or some group takes that task and begins to move that forward. Well, somebody has to take the task for architecture. It's amazing the architecture that was built in Kemet, and we as black folk don't use it. Don't build anything from it. Go to architectural school, get all the training that you get, and then come out and make something Greek or some mess that they have you making. When all of that advanced architecture built over 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years ago is right there still standing. And it's not a mud mound. It's not, you know, just some stuff people threw together. Yeah, and then you call it a pyramid. You know, it's not that. These people put stones, carved them, 2, 3, 4 million of them, stacked them, all of them 3, 4, 5, 6 tons per stone, in a precise way to build these pyramids. And yet we haven't studied it properly and even mastered the architecture, the method of building that architecture. So we've got to get to the point of deciding what we're going to take from our civilizations, how we're going to design from them, What type of scientific information can we get to build our educational systems? These are foundational things before we can even talk about relationships. What governmental structure? What political system? Who's going to lead? What morals and ethical system? How will the scientific and technological revolution we're going through right now be built so that we can rebuild the African civilization with it? What martial arts systems, so people don't defeat us, military systems don't defeat us so easily? How will elders and ancestors rule by reestablishing these institutions? How will elders and youth develop each other? Toward what and where and when and why? We're not like doing it apart, we're doing it together. How will we take the best, as our speakers have spoken to before, of our past and bring it forth into the future? The present and then the future. What will we do? When will we make the decisions to draw from these different advanced African cultures and then replicate them in a modern way and advance that? How will we go about that? So when you see our books, you see us discussing not how to live in the past, but how to learn from the past and then modernize it. When you see us producing a book called Maat, we're not just criticizing Christianity and Islam and Judaism and all the other invaders' religions that they brought with them. We then rebuild our own moral systems. We don't call them religions, spiritual systems. We're very clear that the only reason we have their Islam and Christianity is because they enslaved us, imposed that on us at one time. And then once you get the cycle going, the parent, gives it to the child. The child then gives it to his child's children. So it keeps growing as a cycle. And at some point, somebody has to step in there and say, okay, that's not ours. That's their stuff. And we need to get rid of that. And we're not going to do that anymore. I did that in my family. At some point, we had to get to our children and tell them, we're not going, you may end up there, but this is what I'm going to tell you. Go look it up. Who wrote that stuff? Why don't we write our own moral texts? We're the most moral people on the planet. The ones who had the most integrity at one time. Why aren't we writing about that? We have a Harriet Tubman in our history. Who has a Harriet Tubman in their history? What white person has a Harriet Tubman? We have Harriet Tubman in our history. We have Nat Turner in our history. Who has a Nat Turner in their history? Facing down what he faced and then still going and doing it. Who has a Harriet Tubman in their history? Facing down the decision to go after these whites in their place, get people out, and then go back. I mean, some people will go one time and then figure out, oh, this is I get killed doing this stuff. I got one out there so we can rest on that laurel. She went back dozens, even in my view, hundreds of times to get people. And so I say in the final analysis, we are the most moral people on the planet, and I can sum that up with data, based on what we've taken from people and not done other things to them. But we had not written our stuff down. And so I started going back, my wife and others started going back, looking up the meta-nature and other stuff that we can look up to establish our principles again, and then hoping that the young people will take this and build on it. We need a larger text. We need a tighter text. We need more information around what to do in certain situations, what not to do. We need to sum that up for the young people, because we wouldn't have all these miscommunications between elders and youth if both were on the same page with what we should do in certain situations. Let me push that forward. So I'm not going to read all of those, but I'm saying we have them in place to ask the questions. How then do we get to black unity support among elders and youth? Well, first of all, we have to know what has happened in the past. So I'm going to pass through this quickly and get you there. At the core, at the foundation of all of this, we're discussing the heart. Morality is the foundation. When you're talking to a young person, you talk to them with respect and integrity. When you're speaking to an elder, As a young person, you speak to them with respect and integrity. That's the first thing you start with. And then you can build from there, even if you disagree. Even if you're sitting talking to a person who is staunchly Christian, you can still respect them and hear them out. Staunchly Arab or Islamic, you can hear them out, respect them, appreciate what they said, and then give the facts about what you're saying. We have to get better at that. We haven't done that the way we should. Not only do we deal with our morality, our heart, ma'at, we deal with our head, Jehudi, and we deal with our hands. We not only deal with that, we have to have some guiding principle structure. Ours is clearly, we're going to work for black people. Someone asked me, why do you wear black every day? I wear it everywhere I can wear it. Because why does a judge wear black? Why does a judge wear black? You ask that question, then you get something behind that, because again, black people should be at the core of everything you do, wherever you go. They should be at the core. Your work should be scientific. You shouldn't be coming up in here guessing and making up stuff. Like Brother Sonjedi said, we don't need to be making up no stuff. We got to have scientific information as our foundation. We should have women and men being equal. And again, that's a great discussion in our community, because people get confused based on history. They think because something started out a certain way, it should continue that way. And when I say started out, when societies transition into class societies, at some point, the population that was in control of the means of production were men. At some point. Because before that, under hunting and gathering societies, women were at the core. And so they were in some form of leadership, major leadership. So again, you've got to begin to go back and study history to get an understanding of why these transitions took place in the first place. And I'm arguing that at some point, we've got to have, at least on our teams, equality across the board. We need to be new and innovative. We can't stay in the past. We can study the past and appreciate the past and respect the past. I respected my elder when he told me that he wished he would have written this stuff down before he passed. He didn't know he was going to pass in '63. He wished he had done it. I respected that. And I then did what he didn't do, you see. So you've got to be innovative. I started doing my work, even though I was working elsewhere, I started putting my stuff on people to get it throughout. It should be modernized. It should be tough and fluid. Those things should be guiding ideologies, a science of ideals. You should have those. You've got to be tough. We already are tough, but we got to be tougher in this period. And our children should know that. So, what issues in our community do the books seek to address? Well, the point of the matter is, today we were seeking to address relationships between elders and youth. And so, again, I just told you that we put together a book called Per Ankh that does that, at least the community part of it. We wrote Ma'at to deal with individuals and how they can deal with reality of their integrity and justice and righteousness among themselves and others internally. First, where we wrote Per Ankh to deal with community work and having to have this reciprocity between groups. Meaning in substance, you don't just take from somebody something, you always give as much as you took. And this is, again, what's another principle that gets missing in our relationships. Sometimes we just take and not give. So I'm not going to go over these in detail. I'm just going to let you know that you should have an organized mind when you're dealing with a problem. When you're dealing with any problem, you should have an organized mind. And so I'm going to flip through these. They should take, maybe a couple of minutes to get through, just for your visuals. You should know how processes unfolded over time. Universe, solar system, earth, life, human life, social systems. You should know that. You should know how human life developed over time. You should have that organized mind. So when people are talking to you, when that person is talking to you, you respect them, you listen to them, but you already know what the holes are when they're speculative, when they're making stuff up. You don't get mad at anybody because you know they have not done their work in an organized way. When someone comes to you with some Islam and you say, okay, that's 640 AD, right around that time. Kemet had been around writing for 5,000 years. Before the Arabs begin to write their stuff down in Arabia. And then we had our material written down in moral principles before that. So why are you using something somebody else brought in when they destroyed you? Why are you using that to organize your life around? So I'm listening to a person respectfully because I know the times and dates. I've organized my mind in such a way so I understand when things happen. Someone said, well, how do you know that these fossils were, that these human beings lived at these times? Well, there are bones that are left, and those bones can be dated, carbon dated, other potassium, argon, other forms of dating. So you pretty much can organize your mind around things, and we got to get better at that. So get your mind organized. You won't be angry at people when you're listening to them talk nonsense. You can sit there and listen and then tell them that's all nonsense, which I do. That's just garbage. And I'm going to tell you why. Don't get mad at me. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. So get it all organized. Get the organization pictured in your mind how this stuff formulated based on the scientific data. You got to get the data first. Get a process of understanding the earth. Get a good understanding of how things have happened over time. There's data to be able to appreciate. Get an understanding of this. Get an understanding of how life formulated in Africa, in and around rivers and huge lakes. Get an understanding of what took place in Kenya. Get an understanding of what took place in Tanzania, Uganda. And then get an understanding of what is now Sudan and what is now called Egypt. Get an understanding of what was Kemet and what was Nubia. Get an understanding. There's no place on the planet that has the advanced developments that Kemet and the Nubian area along the Nile River had. There's no place on the planet. So get an understanding of that. So you'll see why they reached such a very high level before the invasions destroyed all of it. Get an understanding of that. Getting an understanding, as I told you before, about human life and how it moved out. The reasons you have the arrows, you can discuss the arrows because they found the fossils there. And they can date them. And so you pretty much know how they moved out and where they went. So I'm moving fast now. But I'm saying you have to have an organized mind. And so when you see us putting books together, it's taken 10, 15, 20 years to think this stuff out, to research different areas and decide, based on our understanding of these research methods, which data could be used as evidence. You can't use everything as evidence. Anyone can tell you a story. We got stories everywhere. What did the prophet say? How you know what a prophet said? That's the first question you ask. They say, well, it's in this book. Well, who wrote that? And when did they write it? And you come to see that it was like 600, 700, 800 years after, quote unquote, the prophet was supposed to live. How do you know what someone said 800 years ago when you weren't there? So you have to begin to ask questions about what is fact, what people are calling a fact. A fact has to be based on evidence. That's the next point. You've got to get to some point of asking them, where's the evidence for this fact? And we have problems with that. People get in arguments because they don't know what evidence is. So we wrote a book called Research. And at the heart of it is evidence. Brother, you say this is what the word means. Where's the evidence for it? And see, that's what I'm trying to get to you on. You won't get mad at people. Your blood pressure don't go up. You're listening to them tell the story about when Jesus did this and Jesus did that. The next question you ask is, when did he do it? Where's the what? Evidence of it. And you pretty much know that they don't have any. They have a story. And a story can't pass mustard as evidence.
And you don't have faith, Scott.
I don't have any. I don't. Zero. I want to see some evidence. I want to see it. And so we're moving fast. Sources of civilization, you pretty much know the white people can make up on the History Channel as many colored, paint them white as they want. Got people out there half buck naked white out there building pyramids. You know they making this stuff up. And the first question you ask is, where's the sunblock? Because those white people out there is 100 degrees and you know they would have skin cancers. At least the Arabs, they don't tell you this, but at least they put those hoods on, black outfits and everything else to cover up. They make it a religious reason that they do it, but they know they can't exist on the equator or around that area in hot, humid areas like that without covering up. They know that. The white folks will put it on TV and make you think that they were out there building pyramids. Okay, we're moving quickly. That's why you don't just throw away what you have. I see so many people tossing our great stuff to swine. You know what I mean? Tossing pearls to swine. So you start saying, okay, well, the Hebrews built this. The Arabs built this. The first question I ask is, where is it? Where is it in history? Show it to me. Everything we discussed with you about what's taking place in the Nile Valley, you got buildings for it. You got the writing for it. You got the monuments for it. You got the carvings for it. You got the what? Casket. You got the place where the people were buried, and you got their bodies. You have none of the bodies, none of the places that they were buried, nothing from these other places. You have nothing with Jesus. You have nothing with Muhammad. You have zero of any evidence of any of this stuff happening.
And Kim, it was thousands of years before that.
And it was thousands of, and it's still preserved. 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years earlier, and you still have it. So when they start making up a story to give to you, you sit quietly and calmly because you know they're not going to have any evidence to base it on. So why get mad at them? Just move forward. So we're going to get through that visually. West Africa, the developments there, you should know those. Be very clear, because most of us sitting in this room, whether you got some story from somebody or not, you are descendants from West Africans who were brought over here enslaved. No, the vast majority of us sitting in this room were not here. We were brought here against our will and then imposed on with whatever these whites wanted to destroy us with. We went through the destruction, it's Holocaust, destroying not only our civilizations, but reaching the point where they destroyed us. You can just run people out of their own civilization and they run off, and then you capture them and you enslave them and work them to death. For almost 1,500 years, this is what happened, starting first with the Arab populations and then with the whites 500 years ago. The whites then will take that information and distort it and make it look like that they were there. So the ones in the middle, those are the populations that were being ruled by the Africans, and now those populations defeated us, and so now they're in charge. But the ones on the left, those were the ones who were in the Nile Valley. And so today, white people, not having any evidence from the ancient period, they make up stuff, like with Tutankhamun. They make up and produce plastic models and put that out there as their evidence. So you just have to move forward and know that no matter what we're dealing with, they're fabrications. The last is now first, meaning the populations that are in that wood. That's what those Arabs are. That's what the populations, Assyrians, that's what they are. Now they're ruling. Those populations are in rulership. So you see how the populations moved into the Americas. You see what was built. You see the Holocaust that we went through. You see the populations that were enslaved. You see the populations of where they went, where they took us. You saw how we ended up to a point where they're throwing nets on us and putting us in a situation where they're selling us a dime a dozen. You have to then organize your mind, make certain that you know how the society developed over time and where we're at in it. The same things that are happening, that happened years ago, are not happening the exact same way they happened years ago, but they're happening. And you have to know how to understand that and appreciate it in the moment that you're in. You have to look at, just like a human being looks at, just like a medical doctor looks at the anatomy of the human body, you have to look at a society in such a way also. A structural anatomy, know where you're at in each area. You obviously have to know how this process evolved over time, how it got to the point that it's at right now. You have to know, too, that as we discuss these things, people are destroying the stuff that we have as evidence. They're continually destroying it. Under the justification, this is supposed to be the Arab Spring, under the justification that they are having a revolution. This is the destruction of our ancestors. Also, you know, the Sharia law in Africa, you know, has us doing all these stupid things that other people are doing, just stupid stuff. And we're organized around it because those are the people who invaded us and destroyed us. And we're organized around this, doing some of the stupid stuff that they've got organized. So this is what weighs on, when I said context, this is what weighs heavily on relationships because there's confusion. People's minds are not organized when they're talking to each other. They're not respectful because they think they know something, but they have not organized their thinking in such a way to do this. What does this mean today? So I'm moving out this quickly. What does it mean today when we've had leaders like Malcolm X? We've had leaders like Harriet Tubman. We've had leaders like Du Bois and Garvey. Ida B. Wells. What does this mean? Well, what it means is the same way the whites were putting dogs on us before, they're putting their human dogs on us now. In the same process of defeating us brutally years ago, they're still doing it in a modern way right now. And we're still trying to protest in the ways that we protested before. This is why so much angst and disrespect between people, because we're in this situation and we have not adjusted to it properly. And so we're commenting against each other because we don't know what to do. Again, I've just shown a collage of what has been done in the last 50 years, the destruction of our people, and we're still in the middle of that. And then the leadership that we've had over time in this country, and I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. And yet and still, we're still in a situation where poor and a lot of disrespect for one another. So I put these pictures here just to give you a visual when I sum up and close in the next few minutes. These are leaders that we've seen over time. What does it mean when you have leadership and you have not moved forward in the way that you need to move forward? Well, it's just like you have a black vessel with nothing in it. And so at some point, you have to make a decision. You're going to return to your own source. And this is our discussion. This is the part where we move to a point where I sum up my point around relationships and how we're going to have to organize them. The first thing that I see that has to be done, as I said earlier, is that we've got to have mutual respect for one another. We've got to appreciate what the other brings. We've got to listen to the other person, elder or youth, and we've got to then have an organized mind to make certain that what we're getting from them, we can go back with, well, the evidence of this is not that, what you just said. The evidence is this. We're not discussing stories anymore. We're discussing evidence. And when you have that type of back and forth, you have a situation where you can build mutual respect. The next point is we got to have reciprocity. You can't just take from people. You've got to be willing to give. What we've been giving is making certain that the information that we prepared is at a source of helping us move forward. What you've been giving is not only have you supported us, numerous people have written stuff about us in a positive way who didn't even know her, just read our stuff. But you also have supported us financially, you know, getting some of our books and things like that. So I say all this to say that you have to have reciprocity. This is tied to having mutual respect. The third thing that I thought was major missing when I saw some things last year happening was that even with evidence being presented, people let their ego get in the way of them having integrity. Let me say that again. When someone presents evidence that's factual, is accurate, and you are wrong, admit that you're wrong. I made a mistake. Brother Asar asked me about, I don't know, was it set theory? What theory you asked me about? Yeah, set theory. Set theory. I heard of it. I was tested on it. 15, 20 years ago. People bother me about it. But I had forgotten. I wasn't going to make up nothing, Asar. I'm not going to make up. If I don't know, I'm going to tell the truth. When someone has evidence of something and you have been going the other way and you know their evidence is valid, why don't you say I was wrong? Elder or youth, I was wrong. And then get to the point of correcting yourself. You're building on stuff. When we put our books out, we say, well, whatever errors we made, give them to us, and we'll, at next printing or the printing after that, we'll have them corrected. This is a good thing because you all become our peer group. You do the editing, reading, and the editing, and whatever else. Even the questions you ask, we improve the book by getting the information from you. We're not sitting here trying to hold on to something we said when there's evidence that said we made a mistake. So that's the third thing. When someone presents factual evidence to you, or us, elder or youth, have the integrity to admit you were wrong.
And humility.
And humility. Thank you, sir. To admit you were wrong and correct it. I'm going to correct things. Number 4, the thing that really gets people lost is this one. Don't put money first in relationships. Put need first. People who need things, or you need things, make sure need is at the center of your work. Not want, but need. So that's what can drive a person to do what we've done. Just to keep writing when we knew 20 years ago we didn't have anything from it but a bunch of notebooks. And then in 15 years, we didn't have nothing but a bunch of notebooks. And in 10 years, we didn't have nothing but a bunch of notebooks. We knew we were doing it for the right reason because we knew that it was needed. Stuff had to be on paper so people can go back in a precise way and see the mistakes we made and build on the things that we did good. And then come out with something higher. So get to a point where you don't see money at the center of everything you do. Make sure you see need. And then that will drive you. Number 5, put yourself in a position where you team up. This is what MKU is doing. He brought 3 or 4 people up here to speak. Some of them are gone, but they got their little speech in, they made their comments. This was his program. He brought us in. And I say in the final analysis, there's no other way for us to do this but to team up. Kemet built that civilization because they were on teams. They had teams of scholars. They have teams of architects, teams of engineers, teams of farmers. These people worked together. They were the most consistent teams on the planet to build these things they built over time. And they didn't even have cranes. They didn't have these large machines. They built these human beings moving this stuff. So they teamed up. So we have to team up. When you see us producing books, you don't see just my name on that book. We know the other people did their work. It wouldn't have gotten done if they hadn't done their work. And so they're on that book because they did their work. We teamed up. So teach as an elder young people to fight for teamwork. Fight for organization and teamwork. Make certain that you get that across to them. You will go much further in life if you work together. Number 6, the thing that really hurts in many respects, I should have said it was number 1, but I'm trying to keep some order just to flow. When you work as a team, actually genuinely respect and love the persons that you're working with. Genuinely respect what they're doing. When Elder MKU asked me to be a part of the board, I didn't know exactly what they were doing, but I knew they were doing good work. And as we talked further and further, it became clear to me that with little or no resources, they would get more done in a 2-year period than folk who had been around for 15 and 20 years. So you respect people and you love them in the work that you do. And we've got to put that one, I would put that first, but I at least wanted to have some context to get into number 6. Number 7, make sure you're precise in life. Even upon checking out, young people who see what you've done can see the precision you put into it and then build on it. And so when you're in a debate with somebody who's older than you, pretty much know that they may just have gotten as much as they could have gotten out of the 60 or 70 years that they were afforded. And in many respects, their being here laid the foundation for you to have your 20 or 30. You see, you have the openings you have because of the doors they open, the price they paid. And whenever I get all about myself, I just think back when we were enslaved, when it could have been very easy to just commit suicide. Just give it up. I ain't doing this. I ain't going out there. The man just raped me last night. I ain't going out there. They stuck around. They stayed in it. And the fact that they stayed in it laid the foundation for us to be here. And so in the final analysis, you got to have that at the core of your thinking as you move forward. Number 8, and I always go with 10, so number 8, have a sense of vision for the future. When you see what we're doing, you pretty much know that we already know that we may not live long enough to see those seeds become trees. You see? Appreciate that. That's right. And we certainly are not going to live long enough to see trees become forests. We have an appreciation of that. But we know our moment in history. Those seeds have to be planted properly. And I don't mean GMO seeds. I don't mean this confusion. They call it pseudo stuff. I don't know. You don't need to plant those kind of seeds, GMO seeds. That's right. You need to be very clear so a person could go into your writings or your work and then say, oh, he made a mistake right there. I can correct that. Was a statistics professor. I didn't grade the person down because they got just the answer wrong. Because usually if you got 20 steps in a formula, somebody's going to make a mistake in those 20s. And so I would, if it's 20 steps, I would give them their 5 points for each step. Instead of saying, oh, they get the number was 72 and they ended up with 71, or they got the whole thing wrong, they got a 0. And so I use that as a way to teach, because you can teach each step and see how they made the mistake. Well, that's the same thing with youth and elders. Use it as a teaching tool when you're dealing with young people. Don't just say they are completely wrong. Point out specifically what they made a mistake on in there, because some of that they got right. They got some of it right. And so I look at people's work, they give me their books and stuff like that. I don't immediately go and say, okay, all that's wrong, and don't point out, okay, you know, they got 16 chapters right, but that chapter 18 was not too good. Let's look at that and correct it. So put yourself in a position where you're actually knowing that you may not live to see the seeds that you have planted become trees as elders. But continue to do your work, because you know that if your seeds are planted properly, how come harvest time, you're going to have a big harvest. We know that if our seeds are planted properly, people who use our works are going to be able to organize themselves in a way that pushes us forward, because we're using the best stuff that we've gotten from history, our history, to push us forward. Number 9, knowing that we're not going to live to see some of the stuff that we put in place does not deter us. When I said I didn't have faith, I meant that I don't have faith in nonsense. Right. But I do have faith in the works of our people who I know are working. And I see young people today. I'm actually happy with what I see with some of these young people. I'm happy with what I see with Armin Raw Squad. People getting out here, knowing that they're not going to get rich coming out here, but finding a way to get here and going where they can go to present this information. Unc, I appreciate what you all are doing, moving forward throughout Georgia. Georgia is just like, we'll run you out of town talking about science in some areas. Black folk don't even want to hear none of it, but he's still doing the work. And so in the final analysis, you have to be in a situation where you appreciate clearly these young people pushing forward things that they need to be pushed forward. And number 10, I could have put this as number 2. At the end of the day, trust that you have given your best work. Someone brought up Diop, Sheikh Anta Diop. Gave his best work, you know it. You see from the quality of it, didn't let it out until it reached the highest level, and those books are classics. There are not many books that you can pick up that are 50 years old that you can still be using and the data is still accurate. I'm serious, there are not many books. You know, you've got to correct those books every 10 years. But his books, I can go to at any time and the stuff, I still get something from it. And so, in the final analysis, appreciate that it's taken a lot to get us to this point. And if we respect each other, we form teams, we are organized, have organized minds, we have reciprocity, we honor and love each other, we work very hard until we have finished tasks and have given our best work. All of this works itself out. Thank you.
Ceremony from Brother Sonjedi. Can everybody give Sonjedi a round of applause while we do libation? Sonjedi?
Oh, yeah, the big old pot. Before I do this, that was a very, very profound presentation. He laid the foundation for how to think. Because many times people are telling you what to think, but now not how to think. You know, the entire time he had me thinking a whole lot of things I really want to say and just elaborate on from what I've gotten from it, but you know, he put a lot into that. So we're going to do this libation, and we understand that libation is, even goes into Kemet. It even tells us to pour libation for your mother and fathers who are resting in the valley. And that goes back to the old kingdom. So we've been doing this from the very beginning. And we continue to do it. We've been doing it in the hood, right? That's right. You know, we just use alcohol. Right. Use water. So I'm going to fluctuate between the Yoruba language and Kemetic. Okay. And whenever I say Ashe, you repeat Ashe. And Ashe is a word meaning like power, so be it, life force, into whatever endeavor you are doing. First, I would like to give homage to the great Mother, Father, Creator. We say Olodumare. Olodumare. You may even say Ama from the Dogon. Ama. Right. Nana and Yame from the Akan. Nana and Yame. Even in Southern Africa, we see Imana. Imana. Right. Kemet is Amun-Ra. Amun-Ra. Ashe. Ashe. I'd like to pay homage to the deity at the crossroads, the Orisha, Eshu. You say Ampu. Ashe. 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 I'd like to give homage to the great Mother Principle that we know by an infinitude of names. Mut, which means mother, goddess. Yemeya, Oshun. Ashe. Ashe. We want to give homage to Ogun, who opens the way, clears the way for us to see into the straight path. We want to give homage to Achosi, who gives us precision, because he pulls the arrow and goes forward. Ashe? Ashe. We want to pay homage to the Egungun, our ancestors. Call out the names of the ancestors. Octavia Roberts. Kenneth Ray Jackson. Marcus Garvey. Dr. Francis Cress Wilson. Keep calling them out. Come on. Victoria Swift. Ashe. Ashe. We're going to do 3 Ashes, and then on the 3rd Ashe, you're going to say it loud and proud, and you're going to hold the Ashe. Ashe? Ashe. 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 Thank you.
Okay, guys, thanks for coming out. Thanks for coming out. We appreciate your patronage. We're not going to have time to do interviews, so we're not going to worry about that right now. But we got a few minutes to clean up and fellowship. There's no reason to rush, but we need to be out of here pretty soon. Thanks for coming in.
Please fill out the guest list if you haven't filled it out, so we can get your contact information, so we can forward you any information in the future and information about this event here today. Thank you, thank you. Thanks for supporting the Raising Awareness group.
Okay.